4 planes took off. Those planes were swapped with military drones. Those military drones were all flown into the buildings, and nobody noticed that. And then those 4 commercial planes were landed somewhere. The passengers were forced on those planes to call their family members to make it look legitimate. One of them, while being held at gunpoint to call a family member, that Cece lady, also whispered, "It's framed," or "It's a frame," or whatever. And I guess they didn't notice. We have no records of any of those planes being hijacked by the government. No records of any of those bodies being found. No records of any agents or anybody saying anything about the civilians that were stolen and murdered and hidden.
Is he right?
Edward Snowden, Chelsea Manning, they leaked a bunch of shit from the government. They didn't find anything related to this. No president, nobody from the FBI, nobody in any intelligence agencies came out and said anything. Apparently, everybody in our government was cool with murdering all these people, and there's not a shred of evidence for any of it. Why are you content to say, well, that must have been what happened? Because you still look at the official story and you see a bunch of coincidences. Like, doesn't that make you wonder, like, okay, well...
What coincidences? They didn't even have footage of all the hijackers, not one image of them in the airport?
I don't know how easy it was to track people on footage back then. Like, I don't know how easy it is to get to an airport and you just don't end up on a camera. But you don't know either, right? You don't know what security footage looked like in 2001. See, like, on one end, people will say...
Yeah, I actually showed the security footage and they couldn't find one of the 19
You can see it, but you don't know the coverage, you don't know the angles, you don't know how many cameras are being used, right? On one end, you'll say, oh, well, every airport must have had perfect footage of, like, all this shit. But then when we look at the videos, I said, the Pentagon, those cameras were, like, 1 frame per second. Those were, like, the worst cameras in the world.
What did you check? Did any of you chat get convinced by that documentary?
I don't know. We're only 3 hours through it. But I mean, like, I know that there are people that are probably going to look at it and go like, wow, that is a lot of coincidences. But like, you've got a whole alternative theory here that you've not a shred of evidence for.
You haven't been persuaded at all?
No.
You don't think that's an alarming amount of coincidences?
What I was hoping for was that they would be making claims that I would have to run through and factually disprove. But instead, it's just a bunch of conjecture saying, isn't that weird? Isn't it kind of strange that he was unavailable for 30 minutes? Isn't it kind of weird that this person did that?
Wait, do a poll. Do a poll in your chat real quick. I want to see what it is because I'm seeing a couple yeses more than I thought. Can you do a poll? See how many people were convinced
in my
by the
DGG chat or my YouTube chat?
In the YouTube chat.
The YouTube chat might be fully convinced because that's all conservatives there. But I'll ask. Hold on. Are you?
Oh, your chat's conservatives on YouTube?
On YouTube, there are a lot of conservatives, and then DGGers are my liberals. Are you convinced by the documentary that 9/11 was a false flag? Yes or no?
Not even providing any conspiracy, just saying that they lied about it. Because there are so many Dick Cheney is clearly lying.
How do you know? But the thing is, like, where's the evidence for a single one of these lies? It's all just weird coincidences.
All the inconsistencies.
What is the inconsistency?
The hiding, the documents that they keep classified. The lying in the interviews.
For the lying in the interviews, there was that one guy that they had, the Department of Transportation, Mendy or whatever. I don't know if he's lying or if he's just old and he was getting shit wrong, right?
22%? 22% of your chat got convinced by the documentary?
Yeah, that's more
than I thought.
That's my YouTube chat. They're pretty crazy out there.
Wait, where you at? Can you share your screen? I want to keep watching with you.
I don't even know. I can't share my screen. It's really complicated. Because I have your Discord is on my streaming computer.
Oh, DGG?
And, no, your Discord is on my streaming computer. I have a second computer that I use for gaming and watching the documentary, so I can't really like share screen on it. Also, I'm not doing that with you. I'm waiting until I finish watching. I have 2 more hours to go. I'll probably be done tomorrow, I imagine, with this. But
you're doing homework. You're taking notes. So what are your debate points? Oh, you don't want to tell me. I'm the one. Or you're mostly going to be debating Nick. I'm there to just scream and be entertaining.
Well, it's just like, so like, here's the thing. On one end, like, we can point out weird consistencies with the official story, but there's no evidence for the other story. And then on the other hand, we could just look at the official story. Well, let's look at Al-Qaeda, okay? The World Trade Centers have already been bombed once. Bin Laden is on record with a whole bunch of reasons for wanting to attack America. Al-Qaeda has a series of doing attacks like this.
He was a CIA agent.
No, he wasn't. What do you mean?
Yeah, he was.
No, Bin Laden?
Yeah.
No, he wasn't.
Didn't he have meetings with Reagan back in the 80s?
I would have to look this up. I don't even know what claim this is. Like every random claim, I have to research.
How did all those pilots fly so fast and so accurately without any training?
Okay, so here's the question, okay? You're presenting this as evidence that...
I'm not presenting that as evidence. I'm just asking you to like answer certain questions.
No, hold on. No, hold on. I'm trying to show you how the framing of this question is misleading. So the question is, how did these pilots fly in such a highly irregular manner that they were able to guide the airplanes right into the buildings? Wouldn't that be exactly what like an untrained pilot would do? If they were highly trained, wouldn't you have expected to see them take safer paths into the buildings and more controlled paths rather than like crazy?
They were better if they were better pilots, they would have flown slower.
No, they would have flown in a more controlled manner rather than attempting risky maneuvers.
Didn't you see all the interviews from those pilots saying they don't even understand how it was possible for them to do that? The tower
Pilots aren't gonna hold on. Pilots aren't gonna know the maximum capability of commercial airliners because they're commercial pilots. They're civilian pilots. They're not. If you ask a civilian pilot, "Are you able to go 550 knots on approach to a building?" He's not gonna know. He's never done a maneuver like that. No, commercial, civilian pilot. They're not gonna know what the max capability of a fucking 757 is.
A trained pilot knows less than an untrained pilot.
No, I'm saying that a trained pilot isn't going to know what the maximum fucking capabilities of a civilian airliner is when they're trying to crash into a fucking building.
An untrained pilot does.
And an untrained pilot, they're on a different mission.
Yes or no? They do? They know the maximum capabilities of a plane, but a trained pilot doesn't.
They might not know the max capabilities of a plane, but they're willing to push it until the plane literally fucking explodes. A civilian pilot isn't going to do that.
Okay.
Do you understand that point? Hold on.
No.
Hold on. Let me see if I can get you on at least a couple things. I should be forcing concessions. You agree that we would never ask a civilian airline pilot, what do you think are the maximum capabilities of your plane used in a suicide bombing mission? Commercial airline civilian pilot is not going to know the answer to that question.
No, I'm pretty sure they interviewed all types of pilots, even plane experts. It's like, oh yeah, this plane can never go to this level of. They can never go this fast.
Sure.
It wasn't just commercial airline pilots that they were interviewing. They interviewed
some of the
and they even interviewed military pilots.
Okay, here's a question. Okay, you've driven. Do you have a driver's license?
Yeah, duh.
What kind of? Oh yeah, you have a fucking. Do you say what kind of car you have?
I have a Charger, yeah.
Okay, you have a Charger. Do you have over 10,000 miles on it?
Yeah, 70.
Do you know what the max RPM that motor can go to before it explodes?
No. What's the point?
You have no idea what would actually destroy your car.
I'm an expert. I'm a normie with the driver's license.
But I'm trying to show you this. If I was to get in your car and I wanted to do a suicide drive with your car, I probably would find out what the max fucking RPM for that motor is before it blows, or before a governor or whatever kicks in. Governor kicks in, because I'm trying to suicide drive the car. But as a civilian passenger, you're not going to know the answer to that. You're not going to have an idea. You don't know what the max capability of your car is because you're driving a civilian circumstance.
So a rando, an untrained, some guy without a driver's license can get in my car, drive it faster than I ever have, and drive it accurately enough to hit a fucking small target like a tower or the fucking Pentagon.
Potentially, yeah. If I were to get in your car and I was going on a suicide mission, I bet I could drive that car crazier than you ever have in your life. It wouldn't even be close.
Not even an expert. I'm an expert at driving my car. I've been driving it like every day, just like a trained pilot. You're saying a rando, a fucking 16-year-old kid who just got his permit, could drive it better because he's on a suicide mission and he could accurately drive it faster. Than me.
I didn't say he could drive it better. What I said was that he could approach limits on that vehicle that you don't even know exist.
Approaching limits is better.
What? I'm not saying it's better. What I'm saying is that no, it's not. Approaching the limit on something doesn't make you a better driver. That's not even close to true.
I would like to drive my car as fast and as efficiently and as accurately as possible. And you're saying an untrained person who doesn't give a f on a suicide mission, who's untrained, under the pressure of hijacking a plane with fucking civilians on there and pilots who are scared of a box cutter, can drive it better than the trained pilots. What the fuck are you talking about?
Better. First of all, I don't know if a trained pilot wouldn't be able to hit a building, okay? Number one. Number two, most of the difficulty in flying an airliner is in taking off and landing, which the hijackers didn't have to do for any of the planes. And number three, all I was saying is that they could push limits on those planes harder than any civilian pilot ever would. Because a civilian pilot is not trying to fucking suicide bomb his fucking plane, right? Much the same way that if what?
We're gonna go in circles about this. I was listening to you earlier talk about this. Okay, can you explain Tower 7 then?
I haven't gotten to that part yet, so I haven't read all the fucking NIS.
Have you heard about Tower 7 before?
Of course I've heard Tower 7. There's no way that the debris could have brought it down, blah, 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 blah.
So what's your explanation for Tower 7?
I don't know. I haven't researched it yet.
You don't know?
That's what I've just said 3 times.
Okay. I really want to watch. What part of the documentary are you at?
I'm at like 3 hours, but I'm going to be sleeping soon. It's 1:40 a.m. for me.
Do your homework. It's gonna be a good. I can't believe. And yo, 22% of your chat just flipped on it. I bet they all believed it before.
Like 40% of my chat are fucking Trump fans. Unironically, my YouTube chat is a wild place.
Just the most basic one. How the f did the plane that crashed in the field in Pennsylvania just bury underneath the ground? How far did it say it went? The whole plane disappeared, and then they showed every other plane crash since then, and the plane is there, available. Yeah. That plane just disappeared, and they found debris 6 away from the collision. How the f does an explosion go 6 miles away?
Sure. So here's the questions. Okay.
You're not answering the question.
trying to explain. You're asking me really complicated questions. You're trying to force a yes or no out of me. These are unprecedented things, right? So, number one, you acknowledge that this event has never happened historically before, with people hijacking planes with the attempts to crash them into buildings in the United States. I don't even know if it happened.
Especially a country with the highest security protocols of all time, and the fact that they're floating around in circles.
Hold on. No.
Undetected, and all the other planes, all the other available planes. Oh no! Before you continue, all the other
conspiracy ramble. Okay.
I'm just saying, are conveniently in military training right now, and all the government officials at that time were secretly in a meeting, and all the other ones are driving away to mountains. But yeah, continue.
Hold on.
You looking at notes? You really doing homework like that?
No, who's texting us?
Someone's in the Discord section?
No, on our phones. Who is that? I don't know. I don't have the number saved in my phone.
Oh, it's Fresh and Fit.
Which one? Is that Myron?
Oh, Myron, yeah. You want to get him to join? I already had Fresh earlier in the shit. Let's get Myron. Yeah.
I haven't watched the last 2 hours. If you want to bring him in, fucking go for it, dude.
He's on your side. He's a Fed, so like he just like Fed.
I don't know what that means. Apparently, he thinks the raid on Trump was bullshit. So if you want to drag him in, go for it.
Each time we get 2 Feds in here, Myron and Destiny.
Fuck, what did you just ask me? Oh, here's something that the documentary did and then they ignored. Do you remember when they showed you the evidence of that plane crashing? I think it was an F-4 Phantom, crashing right into the wall and it fucking disintegrated?
Yeah.
Right? So it shows pictures of like, this is what other airplane crashes look like. But generally, when a plane is crashing, right, usually there's some attempt by the people in the cockpit to get control over the plane. So I don't know if a crash like that, where a plane is exploding or losing like structural integrity mid-air and then crashing, that's probably going to look a lot different than a plane nosediving into the fucking ground at a 45-degree angle. So it's not surprising to me that the burial sites or the crash sites of these 2 planes are going to look way different. We already saw a video early in this documentary where it showed what it looked like when a plane crashed right into a concrete wall and it fucking disintegrated. So
does it make any sense that a plane, when it crashes, buries under the dirt like somebody's slivering underground?
When it's going 500 miles per hour? Do you know
what type of impact is that?
I don't, dude, neither of us know because neither of us have looked at a 100-ton plane going 500 miles per hour right into the fucking dirt.
And that makes sense to you that the debris flew 6 miles away?
I haven't researched the debris yet. That's something that I have to look up because they said they found debris 6 to 8 miles away. I don't know yet what that debris was. I have to look it up.
Myron says he didn't have Discord.
He doesn't have how the fuck does he not have Discord?
I know, they're boomers, bro. We've been dealing with these boomers. Same thing with Fresh. He didn't even know what Discord was. He could probably just do it on his phone. If he downloads Discord on his phone, they could just order his phone real quick.
Sure, tell him to download Discord. They should have it anyway, okay? It's fucking 2022, all right?
Yeah.
There's no excuse.
Especially as a streamer.
Yeah, especially as a streamer. If he doesn't have Discord, Hassan was right. They fell off, okay? That's
my chat loves Nick, but he's telling me not to have Nick on anymore, or else I'm gonna get a no-fly list.
Wait, who's saying that?
Myron.
Oh, I didn't say any of that, so don't.
Yeah, what's up, Myron? Can you download Discord on your phone? It might be too much work to do it on your computer right now, unless you have Mo or some of the producers there. Yeah, Discord. Boomer. On his computer, that he's gonna have to like figure out how to connect his camera. It's gonna be fucking up.
It should auto detect all that shit, right?
I want to read your chat right now. I want to figure out why they got convinced. Can you do a poll? Can you ask, or no, that's the super
I've already got like a lot of conservatives in my YouTube chat, so I don't know if they've been convinced or if they just already believe it.
So are you saying this conspiracy theory is a liberal conservative issue now, and not just common sense?
No, it's an establishment, anti-establishment conspiracy theory, and it tends to be believed more on the right than the left. There used to be left-leaning people that believe it, but now anti-establishment lefties might believe it. But the thing is that usually this conspiracy theory, and not to sound like a dig, and I'm not trying to personally attack anybody, but it usually is rooted in anti-Semitism, which tends to be a flavor more of the far, far right than the far, far left.
I'm not even an anti-Semite.
Sure, I know. I'm not saying you are, but I'm saying that a lot of the 9/11 truther stuff usually comes from the idea that Israel has like done things like this whole Goldstein guy and owning the building is usually put, like I think Ryan Dawson's a big proponent of that. That Israel was the one.
He made $7 billion. That Jewish guy Goldstein, he made $7 billion, and he had an insurance policy installed like what? 10 months before?
Bro, the towers already had a terrorist attack against them. It's not surprising that you would get insurance on it. They'd already tried to blow up the Twin Towers before. What?
Did they? I didn't know that part.
Okay, yeah. There was a 93 bombing where a dude parked a truck in the part of... I think they were part of Al-Qaeda, right? Holy shit! Wait, I need to check that out. Where he parked a truck in the basement, and there's like 100-foot hole that it caused to explode. And the goal of that was literally to cause the building to collapse and fall into the other one.
Yeah, Destiny chat. What in the documentary made you flip? I'm reading your chat right now. What made you flip? A lot of them are saying. I don't understand, Destiny. Why are you so quick to defend people in power?
I'm not quick to defend people in power. I'm just looking at like what is the most reasonable story. There's a terrorist organization that hates the United States. There's a prolific writer, Osama bin Laden, who's got tons of reasons why he hates us. Like he's written extensively about it. You can go read his fatwas. You can go read all of the information that he gives for it. And Al Qaeda has a history of doing exactly these types of coordinated multi-bombing attacks across. They encourage sectarian violence all across the Middle East. So to see them do another one in the United States is like, yeah, it's pretty consistent with everything. Not to say that your story is impossible. Your story could be possible, but there's not a shred of evidence for it. It's just trying to point out inconsistencies in the main story. Like, here's a question.
I mean, your evidence is all stuff that the government told you. How do you decide what's evidence?
Hold on. It is. It's not. It's not just our government, okay? It's every government around the world, and it's all of the independent parties except for the 9/11 truther movement that have looked into it.
You get to the part where Putin was warning about that, and all the other countries were warning about an attack on the World Trade Center.
I'm sure that there's probably been talks of attacks on all sorts of things in the United States constantly. We're always under different threats constantly. How credible they are or how serious they are or how much we know about it is always something that intelligence agencies are wrestling with. If you work for any sort of intelligence agency or anything in the military at all, they'll give you literally daily threat assessments where they say, hey, probably shouldn't travel here. Hey, this is a little bit dangerous. Hey, don't go there. Doesn't mean there's always a terrorist attack coming.
Conveniently ignored a lot of it. Dude, who's Ryan Dawson? Someone said Ryan Dawson is the lead researcher on 9/11.
Ryan Dawson is an insane conspiracy theory. You can talk to him on your own if you want, but if I have to talk to him...
Can you add it? Is he online right now?
No, I don't have his added, but if I was going to talk to him, I need to prepare to talk to that guy, because he's like way off into the like Jews are behind every fucking evil in the world, like crazier than Fuentes, so I would have to specially prepare for that conversation too.
Damn, do these Jew haters know that I'm 12% Jew?
I think 12% is probably low enough to be okay. You'll fly under the radar.
Okay with it?
Just like the planes did, I guess.
That's the craziest part, bro. All those planes went undetected. They didn't shoot it down.
Why? Okay, hold on, wait. I gotta say something earlier too, because a lot of this is people just don't remember the time. You're talking about how like we have the best security in the world, et cetera, et cetera. In 2000, if it was like your birthday, pilots would walk you through the cockpit. Okay, they didn't even lock the doors to that shit. Like airplane security was a totally different place in the United States before 9/11. When people say 9/11 changed everything about security, it really did. You know, I'm not shitting on you for your age, but like you wouldn't remember because it's always been like this. But there wasn't like the TSA didn't exist before 9/11. I'm pretty sure to get on a plane, you just went through you just went through a metal detector. There wasn't like the giant scatter plot machines or whatever the fuck. You didn't take your shoes off and do all that shit. And the cockpit door was open when you were on flight. You could walk in and like look at shit. Like I remember they did that for kids on their birthday. They let you go and check.
Wait, what did Dawson crush you on?
We had a debate on Middle East stuff a long time ago where...
You're an Islamophobe?
No. But I think, was it over the Syrian civil war? He just had he had a deeper level knowledge on almost every topic that we were talking about. So I basically had to concede the whole conversation to him. But in retrospect, I see that almost every single thing he believes in, he discredits every official narrative or every official investigation. And he believes every side investigation that proves his conspiracy. So in Syria, he believes that most of the chemical weapon attacks were done by the rebels and not by Assad. Or that all of the international organizations like the UN or anybody related to them they're investigating, they're all lying to benefit the United States or Israel or whatever, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But that was a debate from a long time ago.
My chat's going crazy. I got a lot of truthers in my chat.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
Bin Laden published a letter to the world where he said why he did it. He said it was because of the. Oh wow. He said it was because of the Jews.
Well, part of it is our support for Israel. Yes. The Arabs, especially. Is it Salafi? Fuck, I forget the name of it. But there's a sect of Islam, of Islamists that are trying to establish a worldwide caliphate, and part of that is an extreme hatred of Israel and Jewish people in the Middle East, and Israel's treatment of Palestinians, and that's one of the big things that Bin Laden, especially in his group, didn't like about us, right? His motivations were, it was our support for Israel, it was attacks against Muslims in Somalia, it was attacks or supporting the Philippines in the Moro conflict, which I think was Russia or the Soviet Union, supporting Israel against Muslims in Lebanon, supporting atrocities against Muslims in Chechnya, which was Russia.
You don't think it was likely that Bin Laden just took credit? Because we were supplying his people with, like, we sell weapons to them.
No, hold on.
One.
In the 80s, there was a war in Afghanistan, okay? There was a Soviet-Afghan war. And as part of that war, we supported a group called the Mujahideen, where the Bin Laden was probably a part of. But we didn't supply him directly or train him directly. Now later, after that war, people like Bin Laden and al-Zawahiri, I think, would go off to form Al-Qaeda, and they would try to draft fighters from that. But we weren't directly funding Bin Laden or directly giving him money or training.
How was that not directly?
Because it wasn't. Because when people say, like, we didn't fund Al-Qaeda directly, and I think Bin Laden was already part of a pretty wealthy family. But when we were funneling money to that conflict, we were giving the money to Pakistan, the ISI, I think, I don't remember the abbreviation is, but it's the Pakistani intelligence services that were then taking that money and then allocating it to people in Pakistan. But the United States has never had a direct connection to Bin Laden, insofar as I'm aware. But Bin Laden, I'm pretty sure, was already a pretty wealthy dude.
Francisco Kosiga Mossad. Do you know who that is?
No.
Francesco.
But Mossad is going to be like Israeli intelligence. That's like Jewish shit, basically, right? Like, I think the Mossad is like the NSA for Israel. So anytime there's like anything that happens around the world, people will be like, oh, it was the Mossad. That just means that like the Jews were behind it, basically.
He's a normie. He said he doesn't know how to type his Discord in. Just tell him to friend you. I'll just type that in.
Add.
Chad, I'm gonna have to do 2 feds at once. He's on your side on this.
Yeah, we'll see, dude. Trump did a lot of things for...
Okay, here we go.
Also, when you were talking about like that trained pilot shit, right? Do you remember in Seattle that dude that had never flown a plane before that was doing fucking loop-de-loops in that single row commercial airliner?
No.
You never saw that?
What's the link called?
You probably YouTube.
So are you saying that being anyone, you could just be a pilot? I can't even fly in Flight Simulator, and then just normies are getting into a plane and doing whatever the fuck
hold
they
on,
want?
you're missing an essential part of the story. Okay, there's a difference between correctly flying a plane, like taxiing, takeoff, landing, and doing that safely, versus
flying into a tower, which is way more difficult and precise and faster.
I don't think so.
And then
versus
also
taking a plane that's
pressure.
already in the air, under pressure. What, they're locked in a
I would
cockpit.
say it's not. They're under pressure. They got all the passengers in the plane. They have to like tell the pilots to get out with a box cutter. You're saying that's not pressure?
Dude, I'm pretty sure the only one that had pressure was the one that went down in Pennsylvania. For the other 3 planes, it's not like the passengers were revolting. Because why would the passengers revolt? They don't want to go get fucking killed, right? A lot of them.
Yeah, that makes no sense to me. If you're a passenger on a plane, aren't you gonna fight back? Aren't you gonna go fuck with the pilot?
Dude, listen, I'm trying to make you understand this. You don't understand how unprecedented this is. This has never, ever, 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 ever happened in the world before. That jets are taken over and flown into buildings, dude. I know that, like, in your mind, it's like, oh, people take over jets and fly them into buildings. That was never a thing. For hijackings that happened in the past, I'm just telling you that you're wrong. When you hijack a plane, you hijack it.
That's not what I'm saying, though.
No, hold on.
I'm saying
No, stop. Let me finish. Can I finish? I gotta finish. I gotta finish. No.
Okay, so
you're
go ahead,
not.
go
Why would you
finish.
do that? If somebody hijacks a plane,
You
usually.
just gonna sit and watch it happen. Someone else is not gonna try to take over the plane.
So you're gonna run into the cockpit and get everybody killed?
They're already gonna die.
No, they're not. That's not what people are thinking, dog. You hijack a plane, you make demands for money, you land it somewhere else. That's typically what people were doing. Nobody's hijacking planes and flying them into fucking buildings. Nobody had ever done this before in the United States.
Pilot's thinking. It's just with the box cutter they got manipulated that easily.
You don't have to manipulate with a box, you just stab somebody.
The pilots got stabbed. Is that true?
I think some of them did, and I think some of them didn't. I'd have to go back and look into each and every plane. Oh, and also I'm pretty sure one of the hijackers on each plane had a fake bomb strapped to them too, where they said they'd blow the bomb up as well. So why the fuck would you fight against hijackers? The only people that did it were the ones that went down in Pennsylvania because they'd already heard that other planes had been suicide bombed.
Let me add my real quick.
Okay. All right.
I'm a private pilot, and I know airlines are very different, but plane aren't as hard to fly as you think. It's all the other aspects of flying that you don't need if you're on a suicide mission.
Yeah, like I've heard that like pinging towers correctly and then landing and takeoff are always gonna be your hardest parts, your most fucked up parts of flight. That's where most accidents occur. That's why we have rules about like your seatbelt and not standing during takeoff, because that's when like 98% of plane accidents occur. But if you're literally just trying to suicide bomb into a tower, there's a lot of stuff you don't have to worry about. Like I said, like if I were to drive your car, like I could push that car harder than you've ever pushed in your entire life. Not because I'm a skilled driver, but just because I don't give a fuck. I'm just trying to kill myself. Okay, I'm adding him to this call. It's gonna make a new one, okay? Jesus Christ. Okay, hey, what's up? You know that we're live, everything, right, Myron?
Yeah, no, I know you guys are there. What's up, man?
Just say words that you shouldn't say on stream.
What was that?
Don't say any words that you shouldn't say on stream, please.
Yeah, no, I got you, bro. I'm not gonna mess up your stream. I'm just here. I was listening to your guys' conversation. I thought it was really interesting, so I figured, hey, I'll just jump in real fast. Why not?
Bro, I had Fresh on earlier too. You know that?
Yeah, I saw a little bit of that.
What do you think about this debate going on right now? I mean, you're Fed, so you believe in what they said. You're on their side.
The official
story. So my thing is this: from all the evidence that was gathered, okay, it was very obvious that there was a attack by some foreign nationals that hate the United States. So my thing is, because I've seen Loose Change, I've seen these conspiracy theory movies, and they make some compelling arguments, but it's still not going to disprove the overwhelming amount of evidence that shows that, yes, we were attacked by a bunch of terrorists, man, from Al-Qaeda. So that's really what it comes down to. I haven't seen this documentary that you guys...
WTC7.
So I'm going to check it out.
What about WTC7?
WTC7?
It's World Trade Center Building 7. I haven't gotten to the research part on that yet, so I don't have any answer to that, but it's the one that fell that people said that proves that there was a demolition by the Jewish dude.
And they talked about that in Loose Change as well.
Yeah.
A plane didn't even hit that building, right? For the chat who doesn't know, that didn't even get hit by a plane. It just crumbled because of debris.
Or fire is what it said.
It literally looks like a controlled demolition. I don't know if I can play right now if I'm going to get deleted, but I want to show people that it just literally is the perfect example of a controlled demolition.
Yeah.
What's the name of this documentary that you guys are talking about? I'll check it out.
Harbor.
It's called The New Pearl Harbor.
It's on YouTube, but it's long. It's 5 hours.
It's a 5-hour documentary.
All right, I'm gonna check it out so that way I could be a little bit more educated about it. But I've never seen that one, but I have seen Loose Change.
What does Loose Change talk about?
It's like it was like the first big 9/11 truther film that was made way back in the day. Whenever in this film, when they talk about like people from Popular Mechanics and stuff doing debunks of 9/11 conspiracies, they're talking about the film Loose Change because that was like the original huge 9/11 thing.
This one's very factual. It doesn't make any opinions. It's just going all facts.
Well, but it's not. The problem is that all of it is just saying like, isn't that kind of weird? Isn't this kind of weird? Wasn't that kind of weird? Like that's all they're saying in the entire thing. There's not like a single fact that shows, and it's making some extreme claims that military drone planes were flown out of 4 different air bases to take the place of the normal planes. That the civilian airliners were landed somewhere. Fake phone calls were made. All those civilians were executed. All the people involved in this have never leaked a single thing ever. Despite how fucked up all of it. This is like a crazy fucked up mission that like. All the chain of command was in on it, or at least high enough that they could stop like planes being dispatched. Like that's like some wild shit. Not to say that it's impossible, but I don't have a single shred of evidence for any of it, and nobody's leaked anything ever showing any of that.
But Myron, you worked for the government for 8 years. You didn't see any shady shit going on.
Well, let me tell you this. From a practicality standpoint, from what Destiny was saying, a lot of people give the government way too much credit, man. A lot of people that work for the government are fucking retards. If I want to be honest, they're stupid. You know what I mean? Like a lot of
level employees, but not the ones at the top.
A lot of people are, you know, for those who are wondering in here, you know, I used to be an agent with Homeland Security back in the day. So, like, there's a lot of people that are incompetent, lazy, you know, don't go hard. Like, when I was in my office, for example, like, it was unheard of for people to be in office past 6 p.m., 7 p.m. They're like, oh, what are you doing here? You're working too hard. You're a young gun, blah, blah, blah. So, if there was an actual conspiracy, right, and people in the government were behind it, and there was this grand scheme to do all this stuff, dude, someone would have, like, leaked it or something like that. You know what I mean? It would have, like,
or there'd be at least one shred of evidence.
Yeah,
just one shred. Thing, just something.
Dude, people give them way too much credit, man. There's a lot of idiots in the government, guys. Like,
and this is okay. And then hold on. Actually, Myron, you can speak on this, please, because I have a federal employee here. Okay. I think that a lot of these theories start, or you can tell me that I'm wrong. Maybe I'm fucking full of shit. But okay, yeah. A lot of people think that when they think about all the different agencies of the government, when they think about like the NSA, the FBI, the CIA, they imagine that all these dudes go into the same office, they work together, they're sharing files, they're like super chill with each other. But these like agencies are pretty siloed off from each other. If you want to work with people like across other
100%.
agencies, you've got to make like requests. There's a whole bunch of bureaucratic
100%.
bullshit you've got to go through. Like they're not all going to work together and doing all of these things.
I'll tell you guys this. So there's two different things that people confuse a lot of the times, right? You have law enforcement and then you have intelligence. They're two different worlds, guys. The CIA is not the same as the FBI. Okay, the CIA is tasked with gathering intelligence internationally. They typically collect on foreign nationals. The FBI is the main intelligence agency in the United States, which is also a law enforcement agency as well. CIA is not a law enforcement agency. Same thing with NSA. NSA is not a law enforcement agency. It's an intelligence agency. So a lot of the times when you want to work with these kinds of guys, right, we call them the spooks, like, it's very difficult to get information from them. A lot of time they'll be like, oh, that's classified, or they don't share information. A big part of the reason why 9/11 happened in the first place was agencies weren't sharing information with each other. Namely, the FBI wasn't talking with the NSA wasn't talking with the CIA, and they weren't all talking together. And then on top of that, the State Department also wasn't talking to these other agencies as well, which is why how these hijackers were able to get the visas in the first place.
If I can speak real quickly on that, because that's a piece of information, right? So according to James Bamford, the NSA had actually picked up communications of Al-Mihar and Al-Hazmi back in '99, who were two of the hijackers. But because of internal bureaucratic conflicts between itself and the CIA, they didn't do a full analysis of the information. And when they passed it on, they literally only gave them the fucking first names of the people. They weren't even able to coordinate. Part of what happened, I don't know if you know this, but the TSA didn't exist before 9/11. Part of what happened after 9/11 was trying to get all of these agencies to work together better because they were so poor at communicating beforehand.
Yeah, the Homeland Security did not exist pre 9/11. So 9/11 is actually what sparked the Homeland Security, which then created the TSA.
Yeah.
You got your job from that. You got your job because of 9/11.
Oh shit.
He's
He's part of it. Oh no.
Not really, because if I didn't get hired by HSI, I would have been hired by the U.S. Customs Service.
Wait, hold on. What percentage Jewish are you? Hold on.
100%. No. Actually,
what year did they hire Destiny?
I don't know, dude. What the year they hired Destiny?
Oh, yeah, okay.
Myron
no,
Goldstein over here is yeah.
So going back to what you were saying, like, yes, 100%. The agencies did not share information with each other prior to 9/11. That's why the attacks were able to happen, because there were so many things going on. And then also, historically, the FBI and CIA have always had issues with each other as far as like sharing information. And everyone is like, if you want to get information from another agency, it's very bureaucratic. You got to fill out, outside agency forms, all this other shit. If it's classified, then it becomes a pain in the ass. Like, the only way you're really going to be able to get information and share it is if, like, you're a part of a JTTF or something like that. But even then, it still becomes bureaucratic.
Also, where are all of the civilians that were on the airliners that the government supposedly landed somewhere else?
Yeah.
Does that bother you? Like, were they just executed by government agents in like an unprecedented?
There's not
and
enough
no one has said
evidence.
anything about it. Nobody had a problemed conscience. Nobody was like, this is a little fucked up. Snowden or Manning didn't have any files to leak when they leaked a bunch of stuff about the government. Like, nobody else had any. Doesn't that seem kind of fucking insane? There's not a single report out of any one of the military bases these military drones must have flown out of to swap places with the commercial airliners that supposedly fly into the buildings. Nobody got a compelling shot. Or when they said that, when they said in Pennsylvania that one airliner that was shot down, was that the one plane that wasn't swapped with a military drone, but the other three were? They intended to shoot that one down? Was that planned from the start? And where's the F-16 that would have been chasing that one to shoot the missile at it? Like, why was it just a mysterious white plane? What the fuck even is that? Like, was it an Area 51 UFO? Like.
Yeah, and Sneeko, I know you had asked about like how did they learn how to fly the planes? They were in flight school, bro. Actually, down here, like some of them were down here in Florida.
Really? For how long?
Couple months. A couple of them were down here.
And they just moved to America. They start going to flight school, and they weren't flagged as suspicious.
Well, that goes back to what I was saying before. The State Department was not communicating, with the other agencies as well. FBI was sharing information, CIA wasn't sharing information, because some of these guys had hit the radar, right? Of these
one got
agencies.
actually rejected for a bad passport. Yeah.
Yeah, but prior to 9/11, agencies weren't really sharing information like that. Like the JTTF existed, the Joint Terrorism Task Force, but it wasn't as it wasn't as efficient as it is today. With like sharing information and everything else like that. But yeah, dude, like matter of fact, I know that for a fact because it was the U.S. Customs Service that was doing the investigation into some of those guys, or an INS back then. And then after the 9/11 happened, FBI came in and took all their fucking shit. I know that for a fact because when I was working, an analyst that used to work for Customs, she was like saying, yeah, I was assisting in this investigation. One day FBI came in, they took all the stuff on the flight school information.
But if it was so easy for them to get trained and to take down, like, some of the biggest buildings in America, why didn't the Cubans do it? Why didn't any of our other enemies do it? Why hasn't Russia done that? A couple of fucking, it wasn't even that much of an organized effort. It seemed like they just got in there, and Destiny's like, oh, it doesn't matter. They had no training. It was on a suicide mission. They didn't give a fuck. It was really easy to hit the most important buildings in America without any much of a planned attack.
It was a terrorist attack in '93. Destiny was talking about it earlier. It was the car bomb occurred in '93, and then there was terrorist attacks in the '70s as well from Croatians, and Cubans did do some terrorist attacks here in the United States as well. But a lot of times it was on embassies, like for their country that they hate.
Yeah, and then also you got to keep in mind that like Russia coordinating a terrorist attack like this would be crazy. One of the things that gave these guys the advantage too is, and one of the reasons why it was so easy to find them, I think within 72 hours the FBI knew every single hijacker, is because they didn't give a fuck if they got found. They weren't trying to hide their connections. They weren't trying to like obfuscate who they were. Like they went to the airports using their real names. Like they had their real baggage and shit. Like we found like passports and some of these dudes checked luggage that actually like was their real name. So like I don't think Russia would want to send agents and then have that known internationally that they've got people hijacking planes and trying to obfuscate that the entire time. Al Qaeda didn't give a fuck if they got found. They just wanted to crash the planes.
The name of the documentary is called The New Pearl Harbor, and it's proven that Pearl Harbor and even about the Gulf of Tonkin
resolution? That is not proven. That's a whole other conspiracy theory that you have to dive into. But
you know about the Gulf of Tonkin resolution?
No, fill me in.
We lied about the Vietnamese blowing up this boat so that we could have a motive to go to war. Americans need to have a motive and a reason to go to war. Just like Pearl Harbor, the Japanese blew up that military base, and then we had a reason to go join the war.
Okay.
Vietnam War, all the hippies were protesting. No, I don't want to go. We shouldn't go to Vietnam. We have no business going there. So they lied and said that the Vietnamese blew up this boat, and then we went into war. Okay. So why can we not apply that same logic to 9/11?
I'm pretty sure that this entire narrative is a total lie as well, but yeah.
They lie about these angry... No, the Gulf of Tonkin resolution is proven. That's not even a conspiracy. Look, Google it right now. I'm going to show the stream. Why can we not apply that same logic to 9/11? You make up a terrorist attack, reason to go to Iraq. We're still in Iraq and Afghanistan. We still have soldiers today.
We're out of Afghanistan and Iraq.
That's what you're talking about. I'll definitely check it out, man. I'm open-minded to checking different things out. I don't let my prior experience in law enforcement like clout my judgment. Like I'll definitely check it out and see because I'll be able to, because I have because I've seen the 9/11 investigation from another lens because I was behind the scenes. So I'll definitely go ahead and look at this documentary and see like what's true, what's not, whatever it may be. I'm always open to seeing other viewpoints.
What were the viewpoints in that other documentary that you're talking about?
Loose change, but that's been largely debunked. That's why there's like, this is the new one. It's because a lot of the loose change stuff has already been dealt with. So the new Pearl Harbor is like the new big one that people talk about.
Yeah, loose change is like, it came out, what, like a decade ago, Destiny, at this point? Like,
Loose change is pretty old, isn't it?
Yeah, basically it's very similar, saying, hey, there's no way that the tower would have fell that way. It was a demolition. It wasn't a plane hitting it, whatever. Very similar stuff to what you're talking about right now with this new Pearl Harbor, which I'll check out.
Films were released between 2005 and 2009. There were a few.
Yeah. Like when Sneeko was a baby.
I was in middle school. Well, Myron, in your experience, like 8 years working for Homeland Security, you didn't notice any shady shit? You didn't notice them, like, don't they torture people and not tell anybody? Rat out the government a little bit. What do they do sneakily behind the scenes?
So here's the thing, dude. I was a special agent, which means I did criminal investigations. What you're talking about is typically going to be on the dark side with the CIA, NSA, etc. Waterboarding people and, enhanced interrogation techniques. That's what a lot of the times the intel community does abroad at other countries. You're not doing that in criminal cases where you're trying to secure prosecution. Two different worlds.
You didn't hear no shady shit.
Wait, okay, wait. Can I phrase this? This is the difference that I'm trying to get across to you, okay? And I would never say this, okay? I would never say that the government doesn't do shady shit or that some of our intelligence agencies don't do shady shit.
Of course, that you trust the government blindly.
No, you gotta listen to me, dude. I'm not saying that. I don't trust it blindly. You trust people on BitChute blindly, okay? Chill, all right? It is possible that the FBI can do shady shit. Of course, they have. It's possible the CIA could do shady shit. It's possible the TSA or the NSA could do shady shit. I believe that. There are things like MK Ultra and shit. That's happened. Those are real things. But what you're talking about for 9/11 is an interagency cooperation to do shady shit, and that elevates it to a whole other level of insanity. That's a whole other thing that we're talking about. And also, the shady shit that organizations usually do, at the very least, the people think they're working to the benefit of the United States. When you talk about like Abu Ghraib, when you talk about like Guantanamo Bay, was it fucked up? Yeah, for sure. But they weren't torturing and murdering like American civilians by the thousands to false flag. They were people that probably thought ostensibly they were doing good things for the country. Not that that makes it okay or not that it excuses it. So those are two huge differences. One is that you're not talking about killing thousands of US citizens, and two, we're talking about an interagency massive conspiracy sprawling across the entire US government.
You're saying that that's so crazy, but what about Snowden? Why were they able to keep hush mode on the mass surveillance of everything going on, the spying, but you can't apply the same logic to 9/11.
Mass surveillance from one of our intelligence organizations. That I can believe that. I would believe that. Or if you tell me that like the FBI has like treated some prisoners horribly or done some fucked up shit, I would believe that. But we're not talking about massive coordination across all of our intelligence agencies to fucking kill thousands of U.S. citizens. That's a way different thing.
Byron, did you hear anything about Snowden before it was released?
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously I know about, NSA collecting, which is, unheard of, like to be collected. The biggest issue with that was they were collecting on U.S. citizens. Intelligence agencies typically aren't supposed to do that. So that's why that caused such an issue.
Did you have surveillance that a lot of normal civilians didn't have? Like, were you able to go spy on phones and shit like that before it was released that's the NSA was spying?
So again, let me bring this in. So there's two different worlds. There's the law enforcement world, and then there's the intelligence world. When you're in the law enforcement world, everything's got to be transparent. I'll give you an example. Right now with Trump, right? They did a search warrant on his house. They went ahead and had to go to a magistrate to go ahead and get that search warrant. That search warrant, already they're starting to, put it out there because when you do criminal investigations, everything has to be put through a U.S. court. When it's go through a U.S. court, that means it's discoverable, which means the public has an access to it. Right now, anybody on this chat can go to pacer.gov, right, and search up the Trump search warrant and get all the documents. The intel world does not necessarily have to abide by those rules. So law enforcement and intel are two different worlds. So, if an agent's going to listen to your phone or whatever it may be, he has to do something called a Title III intercept, okay? Which is basically listening to your phones, real time, your emails, whatever it may be, and that's real time monitoring of some type of medium that you're using to communicate with someone. You need an affidavit to do that, which typically can be between 50 to 100 pages where you establish your probable cause, why what they're doing is criminal, and then the facility that they're using to commit the crime is illegal. So for example, they're using a telephone to facilitate drug trafficking. Bam, you write an affidavit, I know that this phone is used to do such and such, and then you're able to go ahead and listen into that phone, that, or if I know this meeting place is where they do criminal activity, you're able to buzz up the room. That's how the FBI was able to take down the mafia. But in the intel world, they need way less, okay? Because they're able to put everything under national security, right? Thanks to the Patriot Act.
Yeah, you got the Patriot Act from 9/11, right?
Yeah, it came after 9/11, but that I just want to make that distinction that like law enforcement and the intel world are two different things. Now, there's something called the FISA court, right? Foreign Surveillance Act, right? Where you can go ahead and you can get, FISA warrants or whatever it may be. That is different than typically the law enforcement world as well, because now you're getting into more espionage, you're going into national security, getting into terrorism.
FISA, is that the court you go through to do spying domestically if you're like the CIA or NSA? Is that what the FISA court was for?
Yeah, if you need to basically articulate that your investigation has like some type of national security nexus.
Okay, yeah, I got you.
To get into the FISA courts, that's a whole other world, because now those documents aren't going to be discoverable to the same level as like criminal investigations with a regular court.
Look, the new Pearl Harbor theory, you could apply to 9/11, and also, have you heard about Operation Northwood?
Oh my dude, there's like a million things.
Operation Northwoods, America's top military leaders reportedly drafted plans to kill innocent people who commit acts of terrorism in U.S. cities to create public support for war against Cuba. America's done that time and time again.
This wasn't actually done, though. This was shot down because it was fucked up.
They plan to do it.
That's the job of our intelligence agencies, to plan crazy shit. And then hopefully you've got people at the top that are making calls on whether we go through with it or not. But it was ultimately shot down. Nuclear warfare was also crazy shit. We fucking bombed 2 huge cities with fucking nuclear bombs. That was some crazy shit too, but like...
This is proof that the government is capable of lying to get public support for a war.
But you don't... No, it's not about lying. We're not talking about lying to get public support for a war. I believe the government could do that. I personally think there was some level of that happening when it came to justification to invade Iraq, when it came to them having biological weapons or chemical weapons or weapons of mass destruction. I think that there was some... There's a whole thing called the Office of Special Plans, and that's a whole separate thing that you could argue was done in bad faith. But I'm telling you that that is different than getting federal employees. These are your neighbors. These are normal fucking people. Federal employees to get on board with a plan to kill 3,000 plus Americans to do a false flag attack. That's like a whole other fucking thing.
Byron, how much do you trust the government? You're right. Do you vote right or left?
I typically tend to swing a little bit more conservative.
Okay, so how much do you trust the government, and how much is that influenced by your time working for the government?
Here's the thing, man. Like I said before, a lot of people give the government way too much credit. They're not. A lot of them are not as smart as people think they are, and they're not as hardworking as people think they are. There's a reason why they call it Federal Friday. They're out the office by 2-3 p.m. So that's how the federal government works. Now, as far as me trusting the government, hey man, I worked for the government from 2010 2010 all the way to 2020. It was a good time. I had a good, you know, I did a lot of investigations. But remember, I was in a law enforcement capacity. I was not an intel person. The intel world is a whole other thing. You know, there's a reason why they keep the CIA budget classified. They don't necessarily say how much money they get per year. Yes, they do a bunch of shady things behind the scenes, and some of it may or may not be deemed as ethical, but that's what you got to do sometimes to have the leverage as the world superpower. So I get it. But
do you trust the government?
Different worlds.
But do you trust like the government as a system? Destiny keeps talking about the system of the government. Do you trust
What
them
I've
in
hold
general?
on, real quick to get my point across clearly, so you're not misrepresenting me. I'm not saying you have to trust every section of the government. I'm just saying you have to look at the
Yeah, sections. It's a part.
You're not gonna let me finish. You have to look at what the government is capable of, and you have to. What I trust. This is what I would trust. Okay, I would trust that if the government was trying to coordinate some large-scale assassination of like 3,000 plus Americans, that the people inside would say something. That's what I would trust in the government. I don't trust the government to run efficiently or to do everything perfectly, but I think there's enough checks and balances in the system that a broad-reaching conspiracy like that would come out.
Like
That's what I would
agrees
trust.
with you. It seems like mine agrees with you that there's different factions of the government. You can't all lump them into one system. But do you trust the government in
It's not
general?
even agreeing. So that's a fact. I'm telling you this from my experience of just knowing.
Okay. But you're kind of avoiding the question. Do you trust the government?
For the most part, yes, but there's definitely some things that I don't agree with.
Do you think the government is capable of lying to get public support for war?
I mean, dude, I mean, that's been going on since the beginning of time. I think you'd be foolish to not think that they're capable
But it's
of.
possible that they lied about 9/11.
With 9/11, dude, I'm not so sure because there's so much evidence. They declassify a lot of the things from the 9/11 situation, man. Like from how the attacks happened to the people identified, how they identified them, whatever. All that stuff is public record nowadays. You can see it all.
Actually, if you watch the documentary, a lot of the interviews and a lot of what's in the 9/11 Commission report is still classified information. That's you saw, right?
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that still is classified, sure. A lot of stuff around airplane security and shit is classified. Dude, I don't even think you can film episodes on, like, fucking airplane security, like when you're doing TV. Like, that's, a lot of that shit is classified. I don't know why it is. If I knew exactly why, they probably wouldn't have to
I'll tell
classify
you
it.
guys why. A lot of the times, the reason why stuff is classified, guys, isn't necessarily because the information in itself is that secret. It's how the information that was
You don't want to burn sources and stuff. Yeah.
That's why. So whenever things are classified or it's, oh, this is secret or whatever it may be, it might not even be that serious. It's that they got the information through a means where it would burn that source or burn that confidential human source or that whatever or an investigative technique. That's why it's classified a lot of the times.
What do you think about the United States response to 9/11, the invasion of Afghanistan and Iraq? Do you think that was a proper response to what happened?
Yeah, the Iraq invasion made no sense to me.
Okay.
I don't know why.
Did invading Iraq and Afghanistan make sense as in response to 9/11?
I think invading Afghanistan made sense
Afghanistan made
100%. Iraq
100%
was
made sense.
wild. Iraq was
A bunch of like Egyptians and Saudis.
No, it's not about it. The idea was that the Afghanistan government, the Taliban, was giving basically shielding to people that were destroying the United States, the Al-Qaeda. They refused to cooperate with us when it came time to turning those people over. So we decided to go into Afghanistan and fuck their shit up. I don't know what the fuck happened with Iraq. I don't know where that came from or why the fuck that was bullshit. But
Well, they've had a
Afghanistan,
war on for Saddam, and like since the '90s, they've had an issue with Saddam for a long time.
sure,
so, like,
which
you
is
know,
fair. Saddam was a fucked up dude. But if you weren't going to get rid of, Saddam after the first Gulf War, I mean, you left him there, so you kind of have to deal with it. So, yeah, I think Iraq was fucked for sure, but Afghanistan was for
Bush
sure.
Jr.
Okay.
finished what his dad couldn't finish.
Yeah,
you know what I'm
I've
saying?
heard that meme before. Yeah, he tried to kill his daddy, blah blah blah. But
So the government knew, and they used 9/11 as an excuse to go into Iraq. Correct?
well, no, they didn't. Kind of, but not really. Iraq, they needed WMDs, remember? Which was probably bullshit.
Bullshit. What do you mean? It was all bullshit.
They didn't find any weapons of mass destruction.
They
there.
knew there wasn't any. And Destiny, you adamantly trust the government so much. Think about all the senators
Why do
that still.
you get? Hold on. If
All
you're
the people that
no,
you love, you're a fucking Biden beta boy. Didn't all those like Hillary Clinton, all these people voted for the war in Iraq, and they all knew it was horseshit. WMDs.
Okay.
And you still
hold
trust
on.
them.
If you're gonna listen to me, you need to listen to what the fuck I'm saying instead of just repeating like these
I'm listening
retarded.
to what
You're
the fuck you're saying.
no, you're a bot, dude. You repeat
the
the most
fuck are you
bot.
saying?
You repeat the most bot talking points ever. Okay. So this is my understanding, and I'd have to go back and read more. Okay. Because I don't know everything. This is my understanding for how justification.
But I'm the bot.
This is my understanding for how you don't even know anything about any of these topics. Okay.
Let's do
So
homework before you watch a movie. Yeah.
yeah, because I like to do my homework. The
some
justification,
notes.
the justification for the Iraq War came from a special division that was created by Bush to take unvetted and unverified intelligence and pass it all the way up to the chain of command. The Office of Special Plans was literally created for them to take unverified intelligence from the field and then use that for justification for things like WMDs. I'm pretty sure the CIA and the NSA, I believe, fought against the creation of that and the unvetted intelligence that passed up through that. So when you look at it that way and you say, Destiny, don't you trust the government? Yeah, I do when all the agencies are working together. But when you're literally creating a side thing to take unvetted, I don't trust that. And I wouldn't trust that. And I don't. And I still don't to this day. I think that was bullshit, from my understanding of how that functioned. But that's an example of going around the mechanisms that I believe are in place in our intelligence agencies to make sure that shit isn't going off the fucking wire. Okay.
I will say this, being here in the middle of this is pretty awesome, watching you guys debate and argue things. So, very interesting.
Yeah.
Destiny, I did hear you say something about bringing some girls on the show or something like that, 6 girls, something
It would
like
be
that.
really fun to grab like 6 to 8 of like my friends or whatever to bring them on. It would just be a wild show because they're so different than the Miami people, but it would be funny to see it.
You can do it, man. I mean, here's the thing, Destiny. I've heard this a bunch of times. Like, yo, you guys only bring stupid OnlyFans models on, blah, blah, blah. Dude, we brought on girls that are like educated as hell. Well, we had a PhD on yesterday. She still had the same exact talking points as all the other girls, man. I'm telling you, bro.
There's something about the people that come to Miami are wild, man. These girls are fucking on another level of insanity, okay? Even I came from LA and these girls are fucking crazy to me. But I don't know, maybe I'll bring, if I ever do this, if I set it up and get them all
You
flown
can
in.
bring them, dude. Hey, man, I fear no debate with any chicks on when it comes to intersexual dynamics. I'd be happy to have that discussion. You know, we could put me, you, and Sneeko on, and you could bring your 6 friends. But, dude, I'm telling you, man, the hardware does not change the software. A lot of girls have the same exact talking points, same indoctrination about feminism, thinking that they're equal to men, etc., regardless of their education level.
Sure. Yeah, well,
We all believe in the same shit. Wait, Destiny, one more point about 9/11.
yeah.
The fucking plane evaporated in the field in Pennsylvania. They couldn't find any of the ruins. How the fuck did they get the passport?
I don't think the passport came from that plane. It came from the ones near the World Trade Centers.
They found the ones in Pennsylvania too.
Was that for the guy that had the passport that was in his checked bag that didn't make it onto the plane?
I don't know.
Because I thought they found 2 passports in the World Trade Center rubble, and then I thought they had 1 passport from a guy who he checked in for his flights, but the baggage didn't make it onto that plane, so they pulled the passport from his bag.
Yeah. Pretty convenient.
Yeah, is it? Or it could have just happened.
Yeah, sure. I need to do some research too, man. I'm getting hungry, man. I'm trying to like, bro. Do you see how fast Destiny talks, Myron? He's all day like, whatever happening.
Because you're spitting out like 400 conspiracies a second. I gotta like respond to like 7 million things.
And I'm just here like I'm drinking my wine or I'm about to order some food. Right, I have to like, bro. Listening to Destiny all the time, bro. It makes me want to get more autistic. I want to start reading more stuff online. I want to read these books and everything. Do homework to videos and shit like that while playing video games at the same time. Talking like this because no, that's a cognitive dissonance. And I just want to get to that level of debating. I'm getting better like that, but you talk so fucking fast, and I just hear I just want to like, but yeah, I'm gonna get better.
I'm
gonna get autistic.
Like I said, I'm always open to other viewpoints, man. So I'll definitely check it out. But like from my point on 9/11 basically is like there isn't enough evidence in my eyes to dispute the fact that we were attacked by terrorists. It's very clear and evident that there's an abundance of information from Bin Laden to the USS Cole attacks, etc. That we were attacked by Bin Laden and his crew, and that's what happened with 9/11. You know what I mean? And I'll watch that documentary and I'll check it out. I'm always open to seeing other viewpoints.
For the debate, we have a debate tomorrow.
Wait, you and me do?
No, me, you, and Nick. We have a debate. Myron, you want to pull up for that?
Wait, hold on. Wait. Our debate is scheduled on the 22nd at 6 o'clock EDT.
Yeah,
okay?
it's the 21st right now.
Okay, well, because we're past midnight. But you have to sleep, wake up, and then it's the next day.
Oh, okay. Do you want to be on there on the 22nd? That's the same day the Creativity Kid is dropping, by the way. Go sign up right now, SeaGo.net.
What are y'all debating?
This fucking 5-hour documentary.
Yeah.
Oh, the documentary?
I already know it's good. We're gonna go through 30 minutes of it, and it's gonna derail, and I'm wasting like 3 days.
And you're gonna be yelling at Nick back and forth, and you guys are gonna have an autistic, high IQ level conversation. I'm just gonna be there, like on the bottom, like, yeah, cool, dope.
I'll definitely tune into it. I'll check it. It's gonna be Monday.
Yeah, Monday at
Nick
6
is gonna be on the guy on the no-fly list. Yeah, but I need to have like another black guy. I need to have some because like, bro, if I just have always like 2 white guys going back and forth saying the N-word back and forth, it doesn't
Okay,
look
hold
good
on.
for-
Listen, I've never said the N-word on this stream before. Okay, so slow down. Okay, calm down.
We don't want to though.
Well, I don't
We
count.
don't want to.
They don't count me as a black guy, so I can't do anything, bro. They don't count me as one.
Well, we could both give him a pass if we work together.
Okay, we can maybe equal one, right?
We can equal 1 pass for Destiny.
Yeah,
One pass.
Empower.
Run. Charging. Move.
Empower.
Charging. Move. Charging. Move. Run. Run.
Empower.
Shockwave. Charging. Move. Shockwave. Run. Run.
he live? What?
Empower.
Target you.
I got go.
Watch your step. Special coming. Watch your step.
Is gold, gems, and
Among Us.
valuable art. You are effectively looting the lost artifacts and cultural items from a long dead kingdom that peoples likely survive to this day.
Shockwave.
Empower.
Maybe I'm just thinking about it too much, but I wonder what other items or purpose can I have to entice players with classical dungeon items.
Shockwave.
Empower.
Shockwave.
I'm sorry. You meant purview here, right? Listen, stealing from your contemporaries is a completely different
Dispel.
crime. One under the preview of who owes whom what. Purview, right? Is what he meant, right?
Shockwave. Stay away from lines. Stay away from lines.
Wait, I don't get it. Am I a dumb fuck? Is it a homeless joke? Is it a losing your car joke? Or what is it?
Because that is the
Homeless equals zombie.
Stay
last
away
letter
from
of the
lines.
alphabet, and we're the last generation to put up with all the
AI with the braids.
I
Stay
thought it was
away
a
from lines.
I thought it was a furry at first. What the fuck?
You want to know why we're called Gen Z? Because that is the last
Stay
letter
away
of
from
the
lines.
alphabet, and we're the last generation to put up with all the
I'm AI with the braids. I'm AI with the braids. I'm AI with the braids. Dribble rock crossover.
Phase change.
How does it even connect to the clip?
I think I have an actual problem. Like, what is this called? Look at my room. You know how I cleaned it like a few days ago on stream? Well, look at it now! I know, it's really bad.
Oh. This is either gonna go one of two ways. Either one, it's gonna be like, my room is so dirty because there's one cup sitting on her desk, or she's doing the streamer girl thing
Empower.
where this is the computer and the desk, and the webcam can see here, and everything here is just a fucking disaster nightmare. Which way will it go?
I think I know the reason why it looks like
Oh, yikes. What's going on back here? Uh-oh. Well, it could just be a bag of stuff. Looks like trash. Maybe not, though.
Ready?
Oh, my God.
Okay, my desk is still clean. Look! Look at all this desk space right here. Clean.
I don't know if it's like an autism thing I have or I'm just a normal human being. I can't be in an environment like this. Like even with Melina gone, I'll probably clean like the kitchen and everything today. Having just like boxes around and like a couple cups like just drives me fucking crazy. I can't do it. It just fucks my whole mind up.
I just
Fucks my
love
mind
you.
up.
Bum ba dum
Fuck
bum
you,
bum
flower.
bum bum.
I hope everyone don't leave you and you die alone sad. What's up, father?
You like that one?
Look at all this desk space right here.
It was a good one.
The worst thing that
Yeah.
you guys don't know, and this isn't a call out to her in particular, it's called the girls in
I've
general.
unsubscribed many times just to become a tier 1 again. I've considered not donating a stupid meme time and time again. Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. I wish I knew how to quit you, Steve. I'm just a Eurocuck with a Eurocuck.
The thing is, I bet she still wears clothes from this floor, 100%.
Room is too small. Literally, chat, my room is way too small. I think I have an actual problem.
Yeah, you do. You do. Oh! 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 I'm sorry. True. Ooh, meme jack. Yoink. That's going right to the Twitter. Guys, we're so close to 100K. Guys, we can do it. You won't drop a 950? You don't think I can drop a 950? Bro, I've been fucking with you this whole time. I can drop a 950 anytime I want. Hold on.
That's stupid.
Maybe she's a slob because that's just her culture. Steven feels weird, man.
Not bad.
That's really
Not
solid.
bad. I'm a machine in the morning. That's my best one yet. Screenshot it, okay? Screenshot it. Okay. I might have to rewatch my convo yesterday. I don't know if my subreddit hates me, or if they're a different set of viewers entirely, or if it's people that are just, or if it's people that are just getting clips, or if it's Brigaded by Mr. Girl fans, or if I legitimately am just getting like such an off read on conversations. I just might have a really rough read on my convos. Let me
Misspoke.
Let me yoink up my AC. Hold on.
Why 100K? Describe your way to verification. Isn't that how it works?
me start off by saying, I like Mr. Girl. We're friends. I appreciate pushback, even though apparently I don't like criticism or whatever. So, yesterday in the conversation with him, I'm pretty sure he talked for 80% of the time, number one. Also, he accused me multiple times
Gaslighting.
of being bad faith and dishonest and cowardly, even though I'll bring him on as many times as he wants to have the conversation. Okay? And then he also accused me like 10 times of gaslighting. What the fuck? And I'm like, I'm trying so hard to write down, like, bro, I'm writing down everything you're saying. And I'm asking you, is it okay if I say, is that? And then I'm letting him talk for like 5 to 10 minutes, not 10 minutes, but I'm trying to fight, or I'm letting him talk for like 5 minutes. And then I try to talk for like 20 seconds and then I get off, I get cut off. And then he calls me cowardly for not answering the question. It's like, bro, I can't even speak. And then people are coming to my subreddit and when Destiny doesn't know how to respond, he just obfuscates. Bro, I don't have time to talk. I don't have time to say anything. I can't even speak.
I love that.
Max is really pushing Destiny up against the wall on whether or not Destiny regards Nick to be a Nazi or not. And then all of a sudden, the world becomes so complicated.
But that's just me, bro.
Suddenly, out comes a philosophy of language conversation. Suddenly, the legitimate disagreement has faded away, and Max is to understand the complexity. Are you serious?
Actually saying, like, everything. Well, I think lately, fucking
It actually reminded me of how Vosh often goes to say that words don't mean anything, language is complicated, when not knowing what to say. Dude, I tried so many times yesterday to like, bro, I'm writing down exactly what you're saying. I'm trying to respond to exactly, and I can't talk at all, and I'm getting interrupted so many times.
It's annoying.
It's like unbelievable.
Like, I will say sometimes
Holy
he is
shit.
like. It
just shows how strong and consistent Max was being. What got me was when Destiny was being adamant about not labeling Nick a Nazi. Then when Max brings up that he called him a Nazi on Twitter, it's like an immediate goalpost shift.
I think that's what
I like Destiny a lot. I respect a lot. But him not being able to concede when he's clearly in the wrong is brutal to watch. I used to think it was one of his strengths. And I can't even ban these people now because Mr. Girl will throw a fucking fit over it. Like, dude, I'm not being able to. I'm trying so hard. Yeah, I don't know. Fuck. It almost feels like the Sam Cedar convo.
You're probably just
I'm trying to
really
write things down. I'm trying to respond point by point. I'm trying to be clear and concise to everything we're going. I'm actually like, you're a gaslighter. You're gaslighting me, and you are being abusive, and you're a gaslighter, and you're cowardly, and you're too. And I'm like, bro, I'm trying so. Are you serious? It's like unreal. I don't know if I need to just start like. I think in the combos, I'm not gonna let him interrupt as much. When I talk to him in the future, I think I'm just gonna be like, hey, stop. I'm gonna start like shouting over him because like the amount of like being talked over, and then also I think I'm gonna start, this might be a new rule that I have in general. I think I'm gonna establish this for convos. As soon as somebody drops a bad faith or dishonest or gaslighting or whatever accusation, they either have to walk it back immediately or I'm just gonna cut the convo off. Because like for the last half of the convo, he's literally accusing me of lying the entire time, and people are still saying like, yeah, Max is being super consistent here. What? Are you serious? He's accusing me of fucking lying. I can't say anything at this point. Like, Jesus. Yeah, I don't know. Holy shit. Mr. Girl starts cutting people off when he senses he's not getting the answer he wants. Yeah, I know, but it's because he thinks he's like divined an answer from my head, and he's just waiting to hear that answer. I'm pretty disappointed we've gotten to Wittgensteinian word games. This is literally a theory to hand wave away all of philosophy as a field. Every philosophical problem is no longer even possibly solvable, and we need to make major claims about other domains as a consequence of our theory of language. Wait, Jesus Christ. The philosophy of language meme is funny because Destiny acts like he's reached an unprecedented understanding, when the reality is that he's gotten worse at language games, and it is causing confusion among his audience and the people he talks to. My favorite thing about that last convo was there were like 7 different definitions of Nazi that were floated around, and both Abba and fucking JD had no fucking idea what Nazi technically even meant, and they said that their audiences wouldn't know what Nazi meant. And then Max went on to say, well, actually, if you would ask a normal person in the street, you guys are online too much. If you ask a normal person, what does communist or Nazi mean, they'd be able to tell you. Bro, I grew up in a fucking Republican Party. Every single fucking Republican in the fucking neocon era thought every single Democrat was a fucking communist. What the fuck are you talking about? We literally had a whole Red Scare in this country where every fucking left-leaning person was called a fucking communist. How could you say that? Oh my god.
Argument. It was like, I think you guys are too terminally online to understand what truly a Nazi was. I ask a random person what a Nazi is, and I'm like, Gideon's the most like public YouTuber that like, goes out in public and actually talks to people. Like, he's that. Abba's a stand-up comic, goes to the bars and everything, talks to people a lot. So I'm like,
I like to call this the
You're
not so
probably way
erudite
more
move.
term-
Whenever you lose a debate, just start vaguely gesturing at nuance. Just so you guys know, Mr. Girl getting mad yesterday at me locking that thread or whatever, or deleting that thread, is the only reason why I haven't banned like 20 people in this thread. So all of you are safe in here today, just so you guys know. Destiny, the convo was fine. I think stuff went in circles because Mr. Girl didn't trust you understood him, and the tone of your high-effort responses could... No! You are wrong! The convo was not fine. The convo was a dumpster fire, and it was 100% because of Max's unwillingness to engage with what I was saying. You are wrong. I'm not gonna both sides of that conversation. I tried really fucking hard to write down every single fucking point, and I told him, I'm gonna respond to everything you said. If you wanna go point by point, we can, but I need shorter responses. I repeated that like 5 or 10 times. I said, hold on, I need to respond to this. Hold on, I need to respond to this. I would write down 7 things he would say, and he would try to interrupt me at every single point. Every single fucking point. I'd be like, okay, well, here's point 1. No, hold on, let me finish. Okay, so this is my response to point 1. Okay, no, here's... Hold on, let me finish. Here's my response to point 1. Hold on, let me finish. Like, every single fucking time, it was impossible. And then he was accusing me of gaslighting. Bro, anytime somebody says gaslighting, like fucking 10 times in the conversation, are you serious? I'm literally writing down the fucking exact words that you were saying. I'm asking you, if you don't like agree with my characterization, then tell me, and we can change it, or we can talk about something different. Like, oh man, it's fucking frustrating. Holy shit. Unfortunately, some of this audience is under the delusion that Destiny's motivation with Nick is some grand calculation of harm reduction versus inroads and reachability to those on the right. He half-heartedly argues this too, but unconvincingly. While he uses legitimate arguments for how to reach people with opposing views, it seems like it's nothing more than a post hoc justification or positive byproduct of his interactions with Nick. His real motivation is one he's been saying all along, and one he's reinforced ever since he started in politics. He just wants to chat and befriend people he finds interesting. Unchallenging, I would add. Further, while he hasn't said as much lately, he used to frequently emphasize that he's not in politics to advocate any cause, but to explore arguments. Is he going to grow Nick and his platform? Almost certainly. Will he change enough right/grouper mindsets to offset that? Who knows? At the end of the day, you only frustrate yourself if you're expecting Destiny to put general harm reduction concern over his own interests with this. You just have to decide if you can stomach watching him have ice cream with Fuentes every now and then. Things like this makes me think Mr. Girl is correct with his assessment that Destiny is unintentionally or intentionally providing cover for Nick Fuentes, because either he was being dishonest or too heated in the debate to think about this opinion. I was the one that was too heated? He's calling me a gaslighter like 20 times. I'm sorry, I read like all these threads this morning, so I've already read most of it. Like, Jesus Christ. There's a few people towards the bottom. It's fascinating to me how extremely different these conversations come off to people. I saw that whole exchange is unpacking how complicated the issue is for one person, while the other person wants to simplify it into an insult to justify all the baggage that gets loaded onto it. It must be unimaginably frustrating to have someone scream at you about how not seriously you're taking the conversation, only to have people claim you're obfuscating with debate tactics when you take the conversation serious enough to define your terms properly. This wasn't a casual conversation or the setup of a joke. How the word was being applied had massive implications to the way they continued that conversation, because it meant Mr. Girl could assume the outcomes and policies Nick wanted instead of dealing with the individual outcomes and policies themselves. Jesus. If you don't think Max didn't understand Destiny's point of view, which you summarized here in the first 5 minutes of the previous conversation, not even this one, then you don't understand anything about how Max operates. Jesus. Hello, Spectre's comment is good. Who is that? Where? Oh. It's not good. This is a trash comment. What do you mean? There were like 5 threads in here that were like, oh god, so good. Holy shit. Abba and Gideon proved Mr. Girl right. They showed how the average person would just hand wave away all the crazy shit Fuentes believes in because there is no way he will ever do what he wants, and there is no way someone would actually be convinced by what he's saying. They would just join the joke and treat it like it was a big meme competition. How do you even walk away with this idea? When I thought the whole thing that Alba and Ginny were saying, oh yeah, when you call someone a Nazi, that doesn't mean anything to me. Like, I just think that they're like a fucking, fuck, what do they say? I don't even remember what, I don't remember what Abba said. Like, Jesus, this whole argument is so trash. Destiny, your opinion on how to go about Nick is correct, but you seem to not be reaching a lot of people with your explanation. What are they missing, you think? I don't know. You can go watch my conversation with Urk yesterday if you want. Even explaining it makes me sound pretentious, but I don't even like to dive into it. It's just, language is very, very, very complicated, but everybody thinks that language is like very simple. And the problem is that everybody practices language even without understanding it. And so it's very autistic to try to even have a debate. I actually like this. I like this arc because in a way one, I've gathered more information over the past month or two about language in general. And then 2, I can go all the way back to Matt Walsh's documentary and I can see how like everything is connected. I'm having a V for Vendetta moment. What is a woman? Well, when people are pushing for like rigid definitions for words that apply in all contexts, that there's some conventional use that applies to all contexts, that's just not how language works. That's just not how we use words ever. And these labels like Nazi or fascist or any of this shit don't escape that. It's the same shit. Or pedophile or groomer or anything else. But then if I say that, I sound like I'm obfuscating, I guess. Something I haven't seen pointed out about the Mr. Girl Fuentes debate. I could be wrong, but my impression of Mr. Girl Fuentes is unwilling to actually discuss in a debate with Nick's true beliefs are in simply sewing out and calling the Nazi optic looks weak and pathetic. I could be wrong, but my impression is Mr. Girl's... Oh, I don't think there's anything soy about calling someone a Nazi if you want to. He wants to use quotes from Nick, probably hilarious jokes, and he interprets his true beliefs. Then he calls him a Nazi without asking any further. Well, Max, if that's your bar for calling someone a Nazi, what's the difference between that and someone calling you a pedophile for saying a 12-year-old is hot? Without Destiny's credibility and willingness to talk... I already said this, but he said it's different because he's not actually a pedophile and Nick is a Nazi or something, or not. I don't know. I don't know. Jesus, man. Do you think you have an example of a person you would label a Nazi by your own definition? I think I said years ago. I think I said like 3 or 4 years ago that I kind of
stopped using. You were complaining about the meta conversation and how you were called a weasel when we all know you never care about that shit. When you feel like you're correct, you will always talk about the arguments made. Feels like a misdirection.
Like, I feel like 4 or 5 years ago even, or 3 or 4 years ago, when the Trump stuff started to get more popular, I started to say that, like, you could probably find old YouTube videos talking about it, that I kind of drop things like progressive or conservative or liberal or whatever. Like, I know I still I play with these words a little bit, but every time they're brought up in a conversation, I have to go forward and, like, clarify more to me. Like, oh, what is your political beliefs? I'm, like, a progressive, but I'm not, like, a crazy far-left progressive. Like you have to, like, these words just, they mean so many different things in so many different contexts, depending on their use, that... when I say a word, it doesn't really invoke much meaning anymore, or it invokes too much meaning, or I lose control of the meaning that it invokes.
Like when I use the word toxic in front of Sneeko, I've instantly like invoked a whole bunch of stuff that I didn't mean to or didn't want to, and it triggered him out of the rest of that conversation like a month ago or a few weeks ago or whatever, right? Yeah. Oh boy, a critical engagement with Destiny and Mr. Girl's debate on the label Nazi. 9 upvotes. Oh shit, this one must have agreed with me. 9 upvotes. Maybe it was written like shit. Oh, here's one thing though, because even if I think that people are being fucking lunatics, I shouldn't say lunatics. I will try to, I'll try to extract something. I do use 2 radically different standard between posts about other people and posts about me. If you guys are critiquing other people and you're saying like, oh, like somebody pointed out there's some guy saying like, oh, Mac's like a man child or a man baby or blah, blah, blah. Don't do that. That shit's not gonna be allowed in the subreddit either. You guys shouldn't be doing that. I'm gonna try to read posts more as though they were written about me. So when you're criticizing other people, it's not just like at homes or whatever. You guys shouldn't be doing that to other people as well. I let that slide too much. Or I just wasn't even aware of it before. At least you can say now your community isn't an echo chamber. I've never said that, but everybody accuses my community of being an echo chamber. It's so fucking stupid. Why are you so quick to say that Nick secretly really wants to genocide people in previous comment with Mr. Girl? Do you really think it's not, the problem is like the way that he plays with the words. Everything. I don't like to try. I've said this for years. I don't like to try to guess what's in people's minds. If you ask me, does Nick want to genocide people? Truly, I don't know. If I was to guess, the chances of him wanting to genocide somebody is probably higher than the average person's, for sure. Probably higher than even the average conservatives, for sure, right? Okay, does he want to? Would he if he was a leader? Well, if Nick was actually like a big political, would he actually enact a genocide? I don't know, probably higher than the average person's. Like, what are the overall possibilities? I'm not sure. What about in Nick's ideal world? In Nick's ideal world, well, Jesus Christ, well, what all does that mean? In an ideal world of Nick, would he genocide people? I don't know. Like, I don't know how to answer any of these questions. These are like, I don't even know if he knows the answer to these questions. The questions you're asking me are so unimaginably fucking complicated. Like, if you were to ask me a question, like, Destiny, in your ideal world, like, would every gay couple get to adopt a child or something? Jesus, I don't know. I would have to think a lot about that. You know, children generally do better under gay couples than non-gay couples, but that might be because this is a selection bias, people that do adoptions versus people that just have kids. There's like a lot to think about there. When people hit me with those hard questions, there's 2 big problems. The first one is the small problem. The first small problem is that it's really hard to know the answer to that. I don't even know if he knows the answer to that. It is a highly multivariate question. There's a ton of different things that could influence the answer. A ton of different things that go into the question. I don't even know if he's thought to that, number 1. But number 2, that's a small point. But number 2, most important thing is, who the fuck cares? I don't give a fuck what exists in the idealized version of your mind or what your ideal thing is. I'm going to deal with the rhetoric that you have now, the statements that you make now, with the policy positions you have now. That's what I'm going to fight because that's what you're bringing out onto the battlefield, okay? I don't want to attack chess pieces that are in the box, okay? If you want to come out with these positions, then we'll fight with these positions. And if you weasel away from these positions because you don't really believe them, then eventually you're going to bring out the pieces that you actually want to fight with. That'll happen eventually. I think I wrote a section about that in my manifesto between dog whistles and whatever, that if people want to have dog whistles, then that's fine. If you want a dog whistle, I'm just going to pretend I don't hear it and I'll just take it at face value. Someone's like, I think it's okay to be white. True, I think it is okay to be white.
Shockwave.
Okay, well, I don't like BLM. Okay, let's talk about you don't like BLM. Let's do that then. Instead of you bringing up the dog whistle of like, well, I think it's okay to be white. Oh yeah? Well, I think that means you don't like BLM. That's what Mr. Girl wants to do. You don't like BLM. Well, I never said I don't like BLM. I just said it's okay to be white. And now you're fighting that it's okay to be white. It's like, well, now you look like an asshole. I don't want to do that. Just, if people say something, attack what they say. Go after their stated positions, and either one of 2 things will happen. Either 1, they'll defend those positions, and then you either win or lose the argument on that, or 2, they don't really believe those positions. It's a dog whistle, and eventually they have to retreat from there to their actual positions, and you'll fight them on those grounds, okay? That's my thing. There's no purpose whatsoever in trying to divine a person's opinions, generally. There might be limited exceptions to this. So, for instance, if we're talking like, entering like a long-term relationship with somebody, it might be important to try to figure it out. Or maybe like if somebody's going to be elected president, maybe it's important to figure out like, well, hold on, are they lying about this or what do they really think? Maybe. But generally, it's just not worth it when you're engaged in debate. You're like, I don't really think that. Well, okay, well then fight the other stuff, and then either they don't think that and they'll back off it, or they lose the argument.
Shockwave.
It sucks because Max had this exact same take in the conversation with Bosch, that he would empathize with Nazis, not label and dismiss them. Well, I mean, Mr. Go would say he's not dismissing Nazis, he just wants to talk to them, but call them Nazis.
Shockwave.
Empower.
Did he label Richard Spencer a Nazi? I have no idea. I don't even know if Richard Spencer is a Nazi.
Shockwave.
Don't people shit on him for not being far right enough anymore? I have no idea. I don't know. Unless all alt-righters are Nazis, which a lot of people would probably say, but who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Even if Max did terrible in the convo overall, I think it's stupid to not engage with the criticism of the sub. You literally just said he cut you off for like 30 minutes, but why not engage with substance of the OP? Wait, what am I not engaging with? Do you think your audience is adequately equipped to handle an ideology you won't recognize since you are only going at them at face value? Well, but that's the point. That's why I like to actually battle the ideas rather, because I don't think most people could argue against a Nazi, because most people don't even know what Nazis believe, let alone like how to take apart any of the things that they talk about. I am confident that given the opportunity, and I think I've done it with Max a few times now. I think I've done it twice now, where I don't think I did it last night, but I think I did it in a couple days ago. It's like, oh, well, let's pretend that we're a Nazi and I'm going to talk to you about your ideology. And not to dick ride or dick wave or but I'm pretty sure I crushed them in both of those conversations. I think I can make really, really good alt-right or neo-Nazi arguments or like white supremacist arguments for how society should be structured. And people have no idea how to contend with those arguments. But
Wait, what do you mean by Steven using his fitness? He had his wife and some person who she has some kind of quasi-interaction with, calling each other like rapists and whatnot on stream. I think, was that this morning?
no, okay.
Nobody's gross.
Calling anybody a rapist.
Range 5.
Okay.
You don't.
Okay. Jesus Christ.
Watch way.
Yeah, people forgot about that. Max came off really bad when he pretended to talk to Destiny like he was a Nazi. Oh, true. Yeah, he just let me platform all of my ideas with no pushback at all. But I don't know. Wait, what is this? Okay. Categories are used to order in order to group certain
Range
things based
5.
on
Watch
traits. What is currently utility the label Nazi? Oh, this one has 9 upvotes, so it probably dick rode me. Nice. Oh, these guys agreed with me. Good job. Downvote. No pro Destiny. Oh, 9. Oh, only 9 comments. Okay, you're good.
Watch way.
This one criticized me. 210 upvotes. Maybe it did. This post is referring to Destiny versus... Oh, I read this one in bed this morning. Oh, this is the only post. I don't know if I'm just like reinforcing my own beliefs. When I just look for things, but... What is this stupid fucking post? I don't know if I'm just reinforcing my own beliefs or if I'm fucking actually going schizophrenic or what. But like... This post referring to the Destiny vs. Mr. Girl conversation before Jenny and Abbott joined. I'm writing this post due to these posts on this sub. 400 upvoted posts accusing Destiny of obfuscating. 350 upvoted posts praising Mr. Girl for arguing about something he cares about. 250 upvoted posts mainly focusing on comments like this, praising Mr. Girl for being able to challenge and stake out points against Destiny. You think that with all these posts and comments on the posts, that Mr. Girl did very good in the conversation, asking good, thought-provoking questions while Destiny squirms in bad faith. Let me remind you what happened in the conversation. What Mr. Girl did in that conversation: interrupts Steven all the time, doesn't let Steven interrupt him. True. Uses zero charitability when engaging with Steven. Literally accuses him of gaslighting instead of thinking maybe he didn't understand my point several times and called me a coward. Literally being a debate bro, rants for 5 minutes. When Steven tries to respond, interrupts him and performatively screams, "You don't have an answer, do you?" True! Doesn't believe what Steven says. How do you have a conversation when your opponent is literally lying? True. Accuses us of being too scared to respond when he literally won't even let him speak. True. Destiny doesn't comment about, writes down all of Mr. Girl's points so he can respond to them, lets him talk for 5 minutes, gets his points out. When he misunderstands what Mr. Girl says, he asks for clarifying questions instead of crucifying others. I'm trying to do this, maybe I don't do this enough. Tries to steelman Mr. Girl's arguments instead of attacking the least charitable interpretation that Mr. Girl did. Takes the rhetorical L by letting Mr. Girl rant and rant. I'm not doing this anymore. I won't let this happen anymore, okay? Not gonna let that happen anymore.
Shockwave.
Kill yourselves, true. While I may not fully be on Max's side of video platforming Nick, will directly the most response. To some extent, it's neat. These conversations where Max has to flesh out into all the reasons platforming someone like Nick, and risks and action. This is true. I actually I like having challenging conversations related to platform people. That's good. I like that I have friends who can do that. That's important to me. I think it's good. But like, people just get insane about it. And then from Max screaming like, I don't think you guys are equipped to do this. I don't think you guys are equipped to do this. Both mini Nazi convos we've had, you get crushed. How are you saying I'm not equipped to do this? What are you talking about? Sorry, I'm sorry. I don't know. Chat, yes or no? Do you agree with anything Nick stands for or believes in? Yes or no? Mr. Girl, how can they answer? They don't even know what he believes in or stands for. If you ask him, he's going to say, well, do you believe in like being funny? Do you believe that like women are working too much? That they should get back in the kitchen, get back to more feminine roles? Here's the problem. The things they think they disagree with is like maybe him being anti-gay or him being far right or him being a Trump supporter. What? This is by far the most disingenuous moment from Max in this discussion because he's painting Destiny's interaction with Fuentes as Destiny basically portraying him as a tradcon, and this couldn't be further from the truth. When Destiny first entered the call with Fuentes, Nico, Gideon, and Abba, he very clearly lays out how Nick will always prioritize pushing his ideology for telling the truth. He points out how slippery and dishonest he is with his positions. And in this very discussion, they explicitly talk about how in Fuentes' ideal world, Sneeko wouldn't exist. Oh, true, they do bring that up. Even Sneeko knew that. In what world can Mr. Go claim that Nick has come off as a quirky, conservative incel and not a far-right fascist just because Destiny has explicitly used the word Nazi? Everyone on that panel had a better idea of what Nick believes specifically because of the types of questions Destiny forced him to answer on that panel. True! Destiny again emphasizes Fuentes' dishonesty in this part of the panel, or in this part of the debate with Sneeko. Look, I don't think Destiny's demonstrating with Fuentes is a good idea, and it's great criticism in that. But overall, Destiny's interaction with Fuentes has been pretty exceptionally similar. Thank you. Jesus Christ. Wow, we've come full circle jerk. Tomorrow, guys, it'll be the post. Does anybody not care that much at all about platforming or not platforming? I feel like you guys are getting way too caught up in Destiny, engaging in the same arguments year after year, and Mr. Girl being emotional. I'm just done with it all. Why do you guys continue to obsess over this stuff? Can we move on to something important? Like Giga Chad. Like, that's tomorrow, guys. Make sure you're here for the third wave. The circle to the anti-counter jerk. Jesus Christ. Yeah. Did you watch that combo last night?
Yeah.
Oh my fucking god. I feel gaslit. Sorry.
I don't. I honestly don't know which if he is right or if he's wrong. If you're right, if you're wrong, I don't know.
Wait, right or wrong about what? That's important.
Platforming. Yeah, I don't really have an opinion on.
Sure, there's a really good.
Yeah.
There's really good conversation topics to be had there. Yeah, it's a very challenging subject, absolutely, and it demands a lot of attention.
For sure, but I think it's important. But the piece that I really felt like resonated with me that maybe didn't resonate as much with you. But it's like I don't read your subreddit, but I watched you going over it. I think that there is a portion of your audience that can greatly empathize with the extreme emotions that Mr. Girl is feeling.
Sure.
And that those have
Run
those
out.
emotions have a large impact on those people. And then there's people I think where that sort of emotional outburst is sort of
Shockwave.
and I think that's where
Run
a
out.
lot of the discourse is getting lost, and that there are just people who are very affected by the emotional state of Mr. Girl in two different ways.
Well, yeah. I think that when you get more emotional, I think it works as an intense amplifier to whichever direction you're feeling. So if you very much empathize with somebody, then crying is going to super ultra heighten your sympathy for that person. But if you're very fucking annoyed by them, then crying is going to super ultra heighten your hatred or irritability about that person. Right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think
Wait, just to be
especially when it
clear,
comes
not to say that Mr. Girl was crying. I wasn't meaning to imply that. I was just
Right.
speaking about
Right, but he was clearly
He was emotional, yeah,
extremely passionately.
Yeah, yeah.
And he was angry also. His words. I think one thing that is striking to me as a fellow empathy kind of guy, when
We call
someone is
ourselves
that
empaths,
angry,
but yeah, go ahead.
empaths, yeah, empaths, as an empath, when someone is that angry and that emotional, and your responses are controlled and concise and very logical, I think it is just elevating the frustration of the other person.
Yeah.
Over and over and over and over again. And I think where things start to really get lost is when you start to go down a logical path of what Mr. Girl has said, when what he's saying is very clearly influenced, like his direct words, you're directly quoting, you're directly responding to what he's saying. What he's saying isn't what he's trying to, it's not actually what he means,
No,
right?
you're-
And it's not actually what he's saying. And so you're just responding. He feels so gaslit because in those moments, I don't want to say compromised, but his communication is definitely painted in an extreme way.
In a way, it's almost like I'm sorry. Wittgenstein's dick is literally shoved like 32 inches into my body. I'm sorry, so not to rephrase it that way. But in a way, it's like another type of like game that's being played where he's saying all of these words and he's making all of these arguments, but it almost seems like the way that I should be viewing is he's saying like, hey, I am really hurt by you platforming this guy. It really bothers me to hear this type of rhetoric coming from somebody that you seem to be friends with on your stream. And it feels like when you're responding to me, you're not engaging with that emotional outlet at all. You're completely sidestepping and ignoring it to talk about something that's not even relevant to the convo. Whereas in my mind, that's literally the only part of the convo I'm looking at.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think you hit it on the dot there. And I think one technique maybe that you aren't employing, if you want a little bit of advice that could help, is always ensuring that you begin with what you believe Mr. Girl has said. And even though it's going to set him off on another 5-minute tangent, I think you kind of have to, if you want the conversation to be productive, and you don't want it to just keep escalating, I'm being gaslit and you're all crazy and you can't
Well, I'm
handle
trying
this
to write
conversation.
down what he's saying, but I think that...
Right. So writing down what he is saying literally, though, is different than your interpretation of, here's what I think you meant, right?
Yeah. So what I should have done is I need to try to see, and when I say see, I mean like verbally acknowledge the emotional output more than the deductive logics of what he's saying or whatever, basically, right? Like,
Right, yeah.
I
It's
understand
like if
why
someone
this would have
says-
set you. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. You got a good example where someone's saying like, "I'm hungry." Are you hungry? Right? And you're like, "Oh, are you asking me if you want to go get food?" Right? It's the same thing. It's like you're not equipped to handle this conversation, and fuck you, and all of you need to stop talking. And it's like, okay, so you're saying that you just can't navigate the
Yeah, I
conversation,
understand.
Yeah,
Yeah, I understand. Your mic is a little loud. I turned it down. Don't worry about it.
Okay, cool. My mic is all over the place because I record music, so it's just like it's up, it's down, it's up, it's down.
Sure. Yeah,
Also,
I can do
Scarlet.
that. It's just frustrating because then I'm responsible for managing. And I guess I always feel like I'm in this position where I have to manage so much in a I hate it when I feel like I have to manage both people in a convo. It's very difficult. It's already challenging enough to manage my stuff in a conversation, like to make sure that I'm not making any slip-ups or whatever. But then when I also have to like be so careful to account for their emotional state too, it's like it's a lot of work.
I don't know that you need to account for his emotional state. Like you don't have to take care of him.
Well, I kind of do. You're asking me to like this is like some
If
BDSM
you-
aftercare
you-
shit, almost
well,
like, hey,
not-
listen,
not
we just had a really
You're
extreme
not,
interaction.
You're not trying to calm him down, right? The point isn't to calm him down.
Well,
the
it
point
is.
to have a conversation.
No,
I don't agree.
Well,
I don't agree.
I disagree because. Well, go ahead. You can say
Okay.
your point.
Okay, yeah. So I think if he's feeling that angry,
Mm-hmm.
he's expressing anger, and I think he can control his own anger. What he can't control is his actual meaning of expression. So when he's trying to say, "I mean this," that is what he cannot control, and that is what you have to be able to control. You don't have to like make him feel good. You don't have to make him feel less angry. You just need to make him feel hurt.
Make him feel hurt? Oh, heard.
Heard.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm
Stop
saying. But like
casting.
the goal, like if I was debating with another like Logic Bro or something, we were just having like a
Yeah.
an argument or
Charging.
whatever, then
You
I
have
would
to suppress your emotions.
well, not suppress, but I would hope that they're accounting for their emotions, and I
Charging.
don't have to worry about that basically.
He's accounting for his emotions.
He's
and
not though.
intentionally expressing
Because,
them.
no,
He's
no.
in-
Hold
I
on.
know
He's
intentionally
no.
expressing it.
He is unintentionally expressing them by using other words to convey. He's not saying in the conversation, "Listen, I'm
Charging.
upset and I'm hurt that you're doing this." He's saying, "You need to call him a Nazi because it's important." Navy
Did he
towards
literally say he's angry?
Charging.
yeah, angry, but because of like the logical stuff that he's talking about, that wasn't probably where the anger was coming from. It was an emotionally loaded anger. Because he was trying to
Watch your
logic his way
step.
through to sound like, oh, well, I'm angry because this guy could become a Nazi dictator and hurt my family, blah, blah.
Watch
That's
your
not why he
step.
was angry. That's not true.
Maybe. I don't know. I feel like I really felt
Watch your
like
step.
he was so strong about, well.
I disagree
it was
because
kinda
later on he
confusing,
even
but-
admitted to Ava and Gideon, he even said, like, because they asked him, what are the chances of this guy actually becoming a He's like, oh,
Charging.
probably loaded nothing. Well, then how are you that upset over it? There has to be something else at play here.
Yeah.
Charging.
It certainly could be. I just felt like he cares so deeply about
4.
hatred and
Charging.
Nazis and all these people.
One.
He's an
Stack.
ultra cautious person. I get the
Kind
Charging.
of, but I mean,
very,
like,
he's very rule focused, very
well, but like, but then it's hard to. How do you square that away with like the whole like
Charging.
song called "I'm a Pedophile"? Like, it seems like he's boundary pushing in some ways, like pretty hardcore.
I think there's a difference between being authentic and trying to be like this. I need to express who I
Watch
am,
your
but also
step.
being like I'm not going outside because COVID gives you brain damage, and I really don't want to get brain damage. Right? Like these are two things
Wait, I
that
don't
think
understand
exist
that.
together.
At all. Sorry.
Charging.
yeah, well-
Move.
Yeah, so he is very worried about COVID.
Charging. Move.
Video that he did a while ago where essentially
Four.
he's worried about that we don't
Two.
quite know the
Charging.
effects
One.
of COVID.
Move.
So even though COVID stuff has
Stack.
died down and he's vaccinated, he's not going out into the world. Maybe you or I would.
Wait, are you talking about Mr. Girl? Is this true?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I had no idea about this. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, in general, I think he sort of felt
Stop
towards he's a very
casting.
cautious kind of guy. And I know it's confusing because from, one point of view, he's biting all these bullets and he's saying all this crazy stuff, but he's also, trying to be incredibly careful with managing his relationship with his audience. He's trying to be incredibly careful with managing his relationship with COVID. He's trying to be incredibly careful with managing his girlfriend's appearances on stream, right? Like, he's a very careful guy, and I think this is just another instance of him being extremely careful, where you're talking to a Nazi, he's a Jew, and he's like, these guys want to kill me, you need to be super duper
Shockwave.
careful, because I think everyone should be as careful. That's the impression I get.
Sure, maybe. I think that in the way that I would define it is if somebody is not being completely forthcoming with where their feelings are coming from, and I have to try to figure that out, that feels like me having to take responsibility for both sides of a conversation. That's challenging for me to do. Not impossible, but it's a challenge.
Shockwave.
Yeah, it definitely helps to have someone come in who's not the two people that came in and can help you manage that.
Well, sure, because those guys came in mostly agreeing with me and not there to help us reach some.
Well, agreeing with you and they were pretty dismissive of how he felt, right? Like, if
Okay,
someone is-
Yes.
Not to say that they were wrong. Not to say
Well,
that
no,
they were
yeah, I
wrong.
was gonna say that I would have to go back and see who started it, but he was unbelievably dismissive as well. Like, if he wasn't a friend, we would have gotten into a shouting match over him saying things like, "You're not equipped to deal with this," or "You guys don't understand." It's like, you need to
Oh, I agree.
slow
I'm
down.
not
Yeah,
disagreeing with that.
yeah.
What-
So
what-
he
the
was
only
going
thing I'm disagreeing
really
with
hard
is-
on that. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So the two guys that came in, they were being very very jokey, very funny.
For sure.
and I think that just set him off even more. He's trying to have a really serious conversation. And
Yeah,
you got
probably to
Jimmy
some
and-
extent. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, he's just like a sort of a comedy guy making funny jokes,
Mhm.
entertaining, but definitely not what he was looking for in that conversation.
Mhm.
Which, I mean, that would piss me off for sure. But I wouldn't do that on stream because it's not stream. Sure. Overall, I think going through the logic is just making it more confusing for both of you.
Well, for him. Well, it'll be confusing for me because I won't understand his perspective, but it seemed like he didn't want to deal with that, and it was a more emotional loaded argument. But then it's frustrating to me because if it's being presented as like a more logical argument, then that's how I'm going to want to tackle things.
Yeah, it's a lapse in communication style.
Sure,
But maybe,
I would
I don't know.
fault him for it.
Maybe.
Like, I'm being very clear and honest about what I want to talk about. I think that if I'm upset or hurt with somebody, I think I'll just come out and say that. And like, when you do this or whatever, like this bothers me or this is like, whatever. Instead of being like, I want to have a logical debate with you about this particular thing. And I hope that when I'm having this conversation, I hope you can figure out that it's actually about my emotions and it is actually nothing to fucking do with any of the points that I'm pretending to make logically, which is essentially what's going on, right? That places a pretty high burden on me because keep in mind, I'm human too, and I've got all my own emotions and everything too. So in the middle of him like ad homing me and attacking me, like I've got to sort through and kind of make sense of like how he's feeling about everything too. That's pretty difficult to do in a live conversation. Like, even for me, I'm not perfect at it.
The only thing I would push back on is that I strongly felt his anger, and I strongly felt that he was coming from an emotional place. And despite the fact that he was saying, I don't even know what he said, I'm being super logical, monological freak. I think he said I'm making stuff. I think he said something like, what I'm saying makes sense and it's logical, but I am really angry. At least that's the impression I got.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Maybe you're just looking at it from a slightly biased view of when someone's saying, I really want a logical conversation. You start to flow with logic debate.
Well, is it not fair that if somebody says, I want to have an extremely logical conversation, that I would be expecting that we're going to have an extremely logical conversation?
It's understandable and it's fair, but I don't think that that necessarily means that the situation lends itself to it. Like if someone comes to me and says, I want to have a logical conversation with you, and they're bursting out in tears and they're talking about how someone just sexually assaulted them, I'm going to be like, what? No, that's the idea.
Well, sure, but I think that that's meaningfully different than what's going on here. Right?
I don't know that it is. If someone comes in and says, you're talking to a Nazi who wants to kill me and my whole family and everyone that I know, I don't know if I'm going to be like, well, I think you're in the perfect place to have a logical debate for a conversation.
But it's different though, because like in the context of who we are and what we do, right? I'm an online political commenter. He's like another online figure. Like, and he comes to me, I'm going to assume that's what the conversation's about. If he reached out to me
he's really more of an artist, honestly.
You can say that, but if he wanted to have that type of conversation, if he were to like DM me privately, and I've caught myself doing this. I don't do this anymore. I used to do this a lot more. When somebody wants to have a private conversation and they start saying like, hey, like I want you to understand this, and I'm like, oh, okay, well let's argue about this. Now I'm older and I realize that like, okay, hold on, this person is like trying to express like some emotional problem. I need to be more aware of that. In a private conversation, I would agree with you 100%. But in a public conversation, no shot, absolutely not. I don't think that the onus is on me to try to figure out that it's an emotionally loaded conversation, because that's not at all how he's preventing
didn't he say? I don't know. I think he said in that conversation that one of his goals is for streamers to have more emotionally loaded conversations on stream and like, be more authentic in those emotional.
But this is
maybe,
okay. Hold on.
Maybe it's a problem of like his expectations versus it's the reality of what's going on. It's kind of similar to the conversation you had where he has the expectations of you using the word Nazi, and then the reality of how people use the word Nazi. It's kind of the same exact thing.
Sure. Okay, I'm fighting on this. Okay. His conversation was not an authentic or emotional conversation. It was inauthentic, and it required me to play the role of parent to child in order to decipher what was going on. If somebody comes at you and they say some specific words, I want to have a logical debate over the platform of somebody and the political efficacy of doing such. But you actually mean, I'm very emotional right now and I need you to take care of my emotions. Your framing of that is wrong. It's actually incorrect. And it shows an inability of you to have an emotional understanding of yourself. You're not capable of dealing with your emotions in a healthy way, and now you are expecting the other person. I'm not saying it's unreasonable expectation. You can expect other people to take care of you emotionally, but that's what you're coming to me for.
I don't know if it was so much of I'm angry and I need you to take care of me so much as it was I am angry and I am expressing my emotions in the exact way that I am feeling them, so that you can feel how much I care about it.
No.
Not necessarily so that
No.
you can help me.
No, because he's
feel
no,
better.
no, wrong. Because if he was just coming to tell me how he felt about something, that's one conversation. But he's coming here telling me to change a behavior of mine.
Yeah,
So
with his
it's
emotions as the catalyst.
exactly.
for-
So, but now it's
Yeah.
it's no longer just I just want to tell you how I feel. Now we've moved into like a persuasive territory where he's making an argument to try to get me to change behavior. And if you want to present that as a logical argument, but in reality it's an emotional loaded one, you're playing a trick there that I don't agree with. I don't think that's fair.
So you don't agree with this trick? I agree that it's a bit of a trick, but I think it is his trick. Like it is the primary motivation.
Sure. But if he's playing the trick,
why he's saying,
then the onus is on me to play the parent. I have to figure out now what's going on. Because
I don't know. Do you have to? Do you have like?
If I want to have a productive conversation, yeah, because I didn't, and the conversation was not productive. He's screaming at me that I'm being a bad faith interlocutor, that I'm gaslighting him like 10 times, and that I am a coward who won't have the conversation. So yeah, clearly the onus must have been on me because he wasn't going to figure it out. That conversation was super unproductive. And
I don't know. Can he say all of those things and the conversation still be productive? Is that like I feel like it kind of was productive in some way.
No. It
You
absolutely
don't think so?
no was not a productive conversation. How can a conversation be productive when one side is accusing the other side of lying?
Because you really everything that he's trying to communicate is just trying to get something through to you. He's not feeling heard, and so he's like.
But
"Oh,
he's
you're
not trying to
lying, I
get
hate
through
this."
to me the thing that he's saying he's trying to get through to me. There's a different thing that I'm supposed to be able to read there.
Yeah. But that doesn't necessarily mean that he got nothing through to you. Like, do you understand his position in any way at all better than when you before you
Yeah,
had
on
the conversation?
now that I'm talking to you in reflection, I kind of can, yeah. But like now, this is taking two like fully coherent, pretty intelligent adults to figure out like, well, what the fuck was he actually trying to say back there? That's not
Yeah,
good. That
but
shows a
that's
horrible
that's
communication style.
I don't know. Yeah, okay. It's definitely two very contrasting communication styles, and it is definitely.
Or,
Yeah,
sorry, go
yeah.
ahead.
It's hard for him to communicate. Like,
I don't like you
clearly
presenting
came
this
out
as
on
like a
top.
valid communication style. It's not. It shows a breakdown of inability to communicate.
I just disagree. I don't know. Maybe I grew up in a household where this was a valid communication style.
That's not.
and I
It's
just
like
had to navigate
underhanded
my
as
way through
fuck.
it. Yeah, it is. It is underhanded, but that doesn't mean it's not valid. That doesn't mean that he can't communicate things through being that angry.
He can as long as the other here's the deal, okay? I can communicate with anybody if
Despair.
I'm trying to communicate something that I have. If I understand what's going on, right? Do I
Yeah.
need to be more emotional? Or not? He is not going to be able to communicate with anybody that's not willing to step into the parental role when interpreting his communications. That's a folly on his part. Because if I'm not willing to take a step back, it's like, okay, well, I got to figure out what the fuck is going on in Max's brain here. We're just going to be screaming at each other the whole time. Because his conversation is masquerading as deductive logics, when in reality, it's like, I'm very emotional right now. I need you to take care of me. And I have to think a lot to like figure out if that's the case, because you're coming to me on a public platform to engage in what you're saying is like a logical debate, but that's not what's going on at all. It's like an emotionally loaded point of view, which is fine. To be clear, I'm not attacking emotional conversations or emotional debates, but when they're being presented as one thing, that makes it a lot more difficult to figure out, I think.
I agree with you that when someone is saying that what I say is logical, it makes sense, everything follows, and there's a lot of emotion behind it, it does make the conversation more confusing. What all I'm pushing back on is the idea that makes the entire thing, and his entire approach invalid.
It makes it suboptimal at the very least. Maybe not invalid.
Sure, it makes it suboptimal.
If
He
I
could do
can
a
be
better
the
job of
parent,
communicating.
if I can be the parent, then it works. As long as I can rise to that challenge of playing parent. But that's
the language
challenging.
I don't know if I'd use the language parent.
It is. It literally is. It's a parent-to-child transaction. He's coming to me and he's saying, "Mom, I'm really mad today that at school this and blah 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 blah." And it's like, okay, Nathan, what's going on? You sound pretty grumpy, my dude. Let's talk, okay? Are you tired? Do you need a nap? Are you hungry? Did something else happen? Are you upset about something different? Like, with kids, you can read it on their face. And a lie, they'll never tell you. Like, oh, I'm upset about this. No, you're not. Motherfucker, talk to me, right? You can usually tell. But like, Max is like, in this sense, almost like it's a parent-to-child transaction. That's what it feels like.
Okay, look, when Hitler is screaming at his constituents about whatever it is he's screaming at, and he's angry and he's convicted and he's pushing his message forward and convincing an entire nation to turn on the world. I don't think the nation is playing the role of the parent. They're just being influenced by Hitler's incredible anger, right? And so I guess what I'm saying is that even though it feels like you need to take on the role of the parent and like calm him down, I don't think you need to calm him down. You do need to be. It is going to be harder for you in that you will have to look past the literal things he is saying and also engage with the emotional expression that he's giving. But I just don't agree that you have to parent him down. It's harder to interpret, it's suboptimal, but I don't think your role in that conversation is to make him less angry. It is just to make him feel heard and to understand what he's saying, which is, again, much harder.
Which
but
is
I don't
all
think you need to
fine.
play fair.
I didn't sign up for that initially, and he misrepresented what it was going to be initially. So it makes that conversation way more challenging to me.
Yeah, and I think maybe if that's the case, a little bit of advice, maybe the solution is to push. Actually, it just depends on what you want to do for content on the stream and everything. But when it gets to that point, to be like, we need to stop. This isn't working.
Sure, and I said that today. Like, I think that from now on, if I'm in a conversation with somebody and they accuse me of being like bad faith or lying, the conversation has to end. Because at that point, like, if you're not even going to take me at face value what I'm saying, like, what is even the point of the conversation?
I don't agree with the terms. I mean, I think it's just that's just a matter.
You don't agree with what terms?
Bad faith and stuff. I don't know. In my mind, I don't feel like someone coming in with that amount of anger and passion for something is bad faith. I just feel
He accused me of being bad faith.
Oh,
and he accused me of gaslighting him several times. I'm saying if once people start making those accusations, then it's probably time to leave the conversation. The shit is far.
Exactly. Yeah. When someone is that emotionally impacted and you are just and you're trying to understand what they're saying, it's almost impossible to look past those things and have a real conversation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was really interesting conversation. And I'm glad it happened on stream. I don't think most people would have happened.
Please introduce yourself, caller, because everyone thinks you're fucking me.
Oh, I'm Linus. I'm Linus Red. I'm a programmer, and I make video games, and I don't stream.
There's two of us.
Oh, you don't stream either? Nice.
Are you done what? Wait, what?
What? You said I'm a programmer and I don't stream. I said, oh, that makes two of us.
Yeah.
Cool. Were you all done? It's my turn. I want to fucking have a stab.
What do you want?
It's time for me. It's time for me to tell you how I feel about the Nick Fuentes situation. Are you ready?
Empower.
All right, listen. 5 years of streams with the guy is whatever. You know, having the guy in your house is whatever. You know, having chicken and waffles and ice cream with the guy, I can look past that. But taking him out dancing and holding his hand, and when you guys started kissing and stroking each other's hair, don't you think that's a little bit much? Don't you think that's sending the wrong message?
You wouldn't understand it's a Hispanic tradition.
Well,
Empower.
listen, the point, I mean, I'm racist. Isn't it a little bit much? Don't you think that goes against our traditional values?
Who's are? What are
we? The royal we. Literally every person who calls into your stream and everyone thinks it's me. The people who look like us.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe it doesn't.
Okay,
Wait,
listen.
Do we sound the same? Do we really sound the same?
No,
I mean,
literally everyone thinks that every other caller that they don't already know about is me.
Okay. But we don't sound the same, do we? Because I'm hearing your voice right now. I'm like, oh, I sure hope my voice doesn't sound like that.
I don't think so. Everybody else does, because they're racist.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They
Because
thought
we're
that American Nacho was me too, and he's half Mexican.
Okay.
But seriously, here's one thing, okay? I feel like I haven't seen this raised. A lot of people are, I think, basically boiling this down in a reductive way and saying your platform is big. Just by virtue of you having conversations with Nick, you're exposing Nick to your audience or bigger audiences.
Yeah.
And thereby, just it's a raw numbers game. The number of people that are now going to be attracted to Nick and his content and be caught in his web is going to be greater than zero.
Yeah.
The bigger your audience, the bigger that number is going to be.
For sure.
I feel like there's a part of that calculation that's not really being presented, which is that, you know, part of what you bring to the table is that you press Nick to be more forward and be more honest about what his positions actually are. Nick's entire acumen is trying to like sugarcoat his actual ideas and present them in a more palatable way. Like he's got the whole AFPAC thing, America First. That's a very attractive set of terms for conservatives right now. Like his whole platform is fighting against the modern degeneracy, which I think is a big component of the actual GOP platform. They don't call it degeneracy, but it's a lot of these progressive ideals and culture war items or whatever the fuck. part of what you do is to be able to sort of like pierce that veil a little bit and say, no, this is what your actual positions are, and then he's sort of like forced to agree quite often. I feel like we don't really know. I haven't seen anybody examine how many people you might have diverted away from that pipeline of Nick sort of like saying things that are largely agreeable to the average GOP person, with the end result being that they get sort of slowly caught in, you know, Nick's more pernicious views or something like that, or like agreeing with him, or at the very least lending him some political influence or something like that through a sort of more general agreement with the less pernicious and more innocuous sounding shit. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like people aren't making that part of the calculation or like considering that at all.
It's probably really hard to measure. All of these things are really hard
It's
to measure.
immeasurable.
Right?
It's a two worlds thing. You would need two realities to measure it.
Mm-hmm.
The influence, I guess the degree that you can actually contribute to his influence is like somewhat measurable, but the deterrence is something you can't really measure. But I can tell you from an individual perspective, yeah, like that's been the function of you talking to Nick, is you providing the talking points and saying like, these are, you know, not like whether or not it's shit that aligns with Nazi ideology or whatever, but it's like an entire framework of values for like why Nick's ideas you think that they are not the correct ideas to hold, or why you think they're unethical or whatever. I feel like that's part of the value that's provided by having these conversations. It's really strange to see that overlooked by so many people.
Yeah, I just don't think. I think I actually complained about this years ago. I said this a long time ago that like, I feel like people don't know the answer to questions like why should women have equal rights to men, or why shouldn't black people be slaves. Like a lot of these questions kind of just became like self-evident, and in the process of them becoming self-evident, people actually forgot how to argue against them. And then when this type of rhetoric started to spread again, people didn't really know what to say. Like, you know, if Muslims are terrorists in parts of the world, why do we have them in our country? Why should we let anybody come in at all? And people are like, well, diversity is our greatest strength. And then you just get shit like that over again. It's like, well, hold on, wait a second. Do you guys really not know any of the arguments in favor of immigration? Or do you guys not know any of the arguments in favor of why like different people from different cultures? Like, it feels like nobody knows. And then you're like, okay, well shit, now it feels like there's been like some real damage done by people not being able to critically engage with any of the arguments, but rather just kind of like assume that like, oh yeah, like this is just, you know, it's right because it's right and it always has been. And we literally can't engage with it otherwise.
All right, quit dick riding yourself. That's what I'm here for. Okay, I just want to like have people consider that a little more. In fact, even you, I think you've said like one of your greatest regrets is basically handing Hassan his platform. And
Yeah.
I think to some degree you feel maybe some guilt, or at the very least you credit yourself with Hassan having the success that he has. But Hassan was riding a wave, right? He was riding the fucking Bernie Sanders wave. And he was like the #1, if you like Bernie Sanders, you'll love this influencer guy. Have you ever stopped to wonder how big Hassan could have been were it not for you being able to contend with him directly on a lot of things?
It's always hard to know. There's plenty of futures where he would have just gone to the same side anyway, right? That could have definitely happened. And it's really hard for me to know otherwise. The only issue I have is that like I was always too gentle with him. Like I let him get away with a lot of unironic dog whistling, and I didn't push him hard enough when we had big disagreements. Like I should have raked him over the coals for the reporting, the horrible shoddy reporting that him and the Young Turks did over the. We got into a big disagreement one time about how a stray bullet went through a neighborhood and it killed a black child in the back of a van or something. And when the Young Turks and him started reporting it immediately, like as a hate crime, basically. And I was like, bro, we don't have any information here. Why the fuck would you say this is a hate crime? You don't know anything about this. And he's like, oh, well, you know, hate crimes happen a lot, and I think it's good to talk about them. I was like, are you serious? Like, what about whenever there's an airport, anything? People are always like, oh, is it a Muslim? Is it a Muslim? And it was like, whatever. And it eventually came out that it was just a stray bullet from like a gang shooting. That was it. And it wasn't a targeted hate crime or whatever at all. And I was like, bro. But like, I let him walk by so gently on so many of those things when I probably should have been like raking him over the coals a lot harder for having really dog shit takes on media and stuff. So stuff like that is my fault.
Yeah, but because you waited until after the bridge was burned.
Now I just look spiteful, yeah.
Isn't that when you raked him over anything, his response was to immediately back off the situation and distance himself?
Once he'd
Almost
grown
every
to a
day.
certain size, he was able to do that. But before, no, he kind of, because he was relying on me for a lot of like attention. Like, you can go back and look at his Reddit history. He's making huge posts on my subreddit defending himself. Like those disagreements were pretty big for him to try to resolve within my community. He didn't just distance himself. He didn't do that until he was big enough to like break off. And when I had my great schism with my fan base and I cut off a bunch of my socialist and communist viewers to go to him and Vosh. But like, yeah, I'm pretty sure you can go through his subreddit history to this day and you'll still see huge posts he's making on my subreddit arguing about shit. So he was pretty invested in. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's pretty invested in his own self-image and the way that he looks. I think if you did that more and more, though, you would have accelerated that process. And
No.
regardless of
Not when he was too small. He would have never left me when he was too small. No way. Once he hit like 2, 3, 4, 5,000 viewers, then he was good. But like as a 200 viewer person, or when he had like 100 viewers, no shot. He would have done anything. Like he was already kind of.
What was the disagreement that sent it over the edge?
It was a. I had pushed back on him. Yeah, I pushed back on him on a few things, and people in both my chats that were starting to side with him more because I'd been so gentle were saying things like, Destiny, it's not fair for you to take shots at his political commentary when he's a full-time political commentator and you just play League and you don't do things seriously. And I'm like, okay, well, fuck it. And there was a flight that I took to Sweden. On that flight, I was like, I'm going to go through a full video of his, and I'm going to document every mistake that he makes regarding this thing, and it was Kamala Harris, and then I'm going to go over it in a video where I have all the stuff sourced out. And when we did that conversation, yeah, he lost his mind. So.
Yeah, so if you were up until that point and so soft, and then you finally go hard, are you saying that like you were going a little bit hard, and then that's like when you really went hard?
No, the issue is that I was soft up till that point. I was too soft up till that point.
So that's my point.
Linus, you should see that video actually. There's a progression throughout that video. At the very beginning.
Oh, I've seen it. I was aware of it. I was just a leading question. So the. You were soft on him up until that point, and then you went hard. I'm saying if you went hard earlier, which you didn't do, you probably wouldn't have.
Well, let me be clear. When I say go hard on him earlier, what I mean is like very clearly draw lines in the sand where we disagree, rather than kind of like letting him kind of skirt around things that I should be doing. That's what I mean. I don't mean like I should have started screaming at him immediately or something, but like I should have been like, listen, bro, like you think this is pretty fucked up, like stuff like that.
Well, I mean, you were being like a disappointed dad about it. I remember in the conversation.
Yeah, even in that one, I don't think I went that hard, but everybody says I go so hard on I don't know. I get my own community so hard on still.
That's not my recollection. And I remember him at the beginning, like the first couple points, you were like, no, Hassan, like you got this wrong. That's not what happened. That's what happened. Like, oh shoot, oh buddy, okay buddy, I guess I got that one wrong. Well shoot. And then like with with each preceding point, it was more about like, well, why are you being so mean to me? Like, oh, what are you doing?
It was literally just like, you're being really mean to me. Why are you doing this to me? I thought we were friends.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
He's got a bit of an ego.
Okay, one last thing. I guess like a big part of this criticism about you going out to eat with Nick is the fact that you humanized him or whatever. But I think, I'm not sure if this has been brought up. Stop me if this has been brought up. But on the one hand, it's like humanizing him is a downgrade to Nick's fans who deify him, right? If they only ever see Nick in his element, in his studio, you know, fucking chopping it up, talking geopolitics or whatever it is, or culture war stuff, and Nick is just like rap godding about his whole platform or whatever, then suddenly seeing him in public where he's like totally fucking awkward and doesn't even know how to interact in society, and he's like, hey, are you a Jew? You know, the first guy that walks by or whatever. Like that might change some opinions about, you know, some of the opinions from like the Groypers or something like that. Or the average person especially is going to be like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? Like, even if he stands for what I stand for, which is traditional value shit, like, what the fuck is wrong? He's just like a dork.
Bam! I wish I could, oh no. Somebody sent me an email. I'm not going to find that. Fuck. Somebody actually sent me an email saying exactly that. I thought it was really interesting. Where he sent me an email saying that he was a huge Nick fan, and he still is a Nick fan. He was like, I'm not not a Groyper anymore. But he said that something that was interesting was that when he watched him on his America First shows, he does seem like a deity. He's like a god. He's in his element. He's doing all this shit. He seems untouchable. But then when he's seen me had conversations with him, especially the two in real life, he said that he had a much more humanized view of him. I'm not trying to be mean or sound things, but I'm pretty sure the words he used in this email, I'm trying to find it. I think he said he seemed more like a nerdy or dorky, like normal 17-year-old or something. Is what he said. And he seemed like way more approachable than how he came off on the show. It's interesting that you said that because that was, I had gotten that feedback. It might have been a subreddit post too. I don't know. Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Those are my takeaways. And the in-person thing, you know, the very first thing he did was like, fucking, he did this pause to put his hand on your shoulder, and then he like went for it. And my first thought was like, man, this might be like the first guy that Nick might be excited could be a friend of his or something like that. Or I don't know if that was just that was just some theater on Nick's part or whatever. But like, yeah, that was if that was a takeaway from me, maybe other people noticed that as well. of course, I think the ideas about you helping him build this platform are valuable, or how you, like, being buddy-buddy with him might lend some credence to his ideas or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, those are valuable criticisms or concerns, but I feel like the other side hasn't been considered at all in these insane Reddit threads.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot to keep in mind and consider for sure. Like, I'm not trying to, I don't ever want to present this as like, oh, it's so obviously easy, like what I'm doing, and obviously, like, this is make the right choices. Like, I'm trying to figure it all out in real time. I just know that where we're at right now is not good, and it feels like it needs to go a bit in the other direction. So, but yeah, I guess we'll see.
Well, I think what you need to do is just pencil out a date in your calendar and invite Hitler over for dinner. It's time to just move up to the big leagues. Quit
Based.
fucking around. We need to get a definitive answer to this, okay? Just see how that goes.
Empower.
Whatever happens out of that, we'll know if Nick
Bam!
that was okay to have chicken.
I guess we'll find out in the future.
I could have said it was lying.
Well, anything else? Our best friend of the stream wants to come on soon, so.
Just like I said,
Ground
I don't really
control.
have a lot of things.
Ground
Very
control.
well beyond any great fight. I would want to know though. I want you to think about what it would take for you to decide that it's a bad idea.
The platform, Nick?
Yeah, and I think having I don't think you need a definitive answer, but I think continuous consideration of that idea.
Absolutely. Like, I do. It is something that I continuously consider for sure.
Yeah, and I don't think
think
you should. I don't think you should openly share it.
Ground control.
maybe because I can.
I think you should. Yeah, I think you should share it behind closed doors. It gives you trust. But I think that is. Yeah, it's something that you need to. You need to have like without the influence of a million other people who don't know you.
Okay. I love you, babe.
Yeah. All right. See ya.
God. Hi.
Oh my god.
I just boomered so hard, I think I'm gonna have a heart attack.
How is it going? Friend of the stream, Brittany.
I just really boomered. I went into your like dating advice
Yeah,
chat.
I saw it up there. Nice.
Oh my gosh, my anxiety. Are you turning on your camera for me, or are my viewers just gonna like have to deal with your demons? Go.
I'll always get
Bam!
I didn't do my hair today.
I'm dealing with such allergies today. My eyes are like sunken into my face because my cat tried to spit. How you feeling? How you doing emotionally?
Pretty good. Did something happen?
Wait, why are you asking me that? Did something happen?
Well, I don't know. When you ask a question like that, it makes me feel like some shit's going on. Did I miss something?
Technically, no. If anything, I feel like I missed something in your life.
Which?
Where I don't know. You talked to this guy the other day, Devin or something. And you're on this like quasi spiritual journey, but also feel like there's something more interesting happening, and I wanted to talk to you about that possibly interesting thing.
Sure. What's up?
Well, I guess I wanted to ask you, like, are you
Shockwave.
going through some sort of spiritual journey? Are you getting Devin's hopes up? He seems really hopeful.
So there are, I think there's like broadly two different ways of engaging.
Whoever just followed me, 1 second.
In
I
one
don't
sense, you kind
have
of
my
got, like, this
activity
autistic,
shit
like,
up.
I wanna see how
I don't know who you are.
this
Thank
is
you.
how
If
I
you
see
type in
this, how I
chat,
like
I'll
to
see
live
you
in the
there.
world. But most people that
I'm a
work
dumb
in,
fuck.
function in like political areas tend to have a more narrative view of the world. And
Oh,
I've always
shit,
had
it's
trouble
fucking Lily.
bridging that
Great.
gap. Like, if you want to debate me on like
Great.
women's rights or minorities or slavery,
I'll probably end
or
up
immigration or anything like
eclipsing
this, like, okay,
you
well,
because
let's
you're on
dig up
alts and I
studies,
came
let's
back
look
from
at that.
vacation, so you
And
suck.
I can do that until
I'm
I'm
gonna
blue in the
remind
face,
you how much
and
you.
then some guy opposite,
Yeah, actually, you're just
you know, will be
lame.
like, my mother was raped and killed by an MS-13 member who was let in by Obama's.
B's doing this
own fucking-
gambit, so I'd help
Fuck
out.
me, I lost that argument. Like, I guess I lose. Like, thanks, dude. Yeah, and then it's like over. Or like, you want to legalize marijuana? My daughter was raped and murdered by a 3-time marijuana smoker that got released from federal prison when Colorado legalized marijuana. Oh, okay, well, done for me. So I've been trying to figure out. It's like over the past couple of years, I've been trying to figure out. Like, okay, I think I said specifically. I think it was in 2020 or might have been 2021, where it's like I need to be more narrative driven. I need to figure out how to like combine and deliver the things that I'm talking about with narratives And I'm really bad at doing that because I don't think in narratives usually. I think just like in discrete autistic facts, rather than like a full story that gives you like context.
You say you haven't pushed on your priest, but literally I was on vacation for like 5 days and you pushed 2 different IO jumps. Okay.
Shit. And
I don't push on my priest.
Yeah. And in reading
I'm gonna
that,
retire my priest.
Remembered I have
That's what
a
you
whole
sound like.
background in Catholicism. I went to Catholic school for 12 years. I went to Jesuit high school for 4 years. I have a pretty fleshed out understanding of Christianity, and I've grown since then. So since I was like, I don't know if you do this, but you have like your rage atheist phase where you're like, fuck religion, it's all evil and horrible, blah blah blah. I got through that in my early 20s, mid 20s, late 20s, and then especially my early 30s. I'm still in my early mid 30s, I guess. Where instead of viewing things as like worse, I try to view them as different. So now, kind of reopening that Christianity book, what I can see is like, oh, holy shit, religion is like the perfect thing to take all of these autistic, discrete facts and kind of organize them in a sort of 10 rules for life, to relate the 10 Commandments and Dr.
Whatever you
Peterson.
want.
Yeah, so I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm going to go back to the kind of Christianity, spiritual stuff that I have. I can scrap the religious part because we don't need the theology. That's garbage. But I can take like all of the kind of like rules and the structures and the context and all of that, and I can kind of like repackage it into this like secular understanding of the world that still like is very human. Because like data and figures and studies and discrete facts is a very inhuman engagement with the world, but like stories and narratives and allegories and religion and tradition and all this shit are very human ways of engaging with the world. So that's kind of been like what I've been trying to combine over the past like month or two.
Okay.
And then that's ended up coming out in like my
That B?
God
fucking damn it. I saw him fucking tumble.
Special coming.
I like Passionate Destiny. This is always fun. Why? Okay, obviously we're bubble hopping right now. Like that's what you're doing, right?
Okay,
You're, like,
I'll do it,
bubble
guys.
hopping,
Don't
like,
worry.
in a freshman
Nobody's.
world, and then you're hopping into Abba's world, and you're hopping into your world, and you're going to the Christian bubble, and you're using their, which I love. That's why I watch so much anime. I just feel like stories tell so many good, like they challenge you in different ways. Okay, love the Bible. Grew up Catholic like you did, right? Why this particular path though? You could have done anything else. Why this one?
I just happened to make a friend who is fucking religious, and they recommended me dumb shit, and I don't read. I shouldn't say dumb shit. They recommended me C.S. Lewis, and I need to read more, and I haven't been. So I'm like, okay, fuck it.
Yeah.
Like, I'll start reading this, and then it just, and then the like, if I would have grown up like Muslim, I probably would have gone on the Muslim spiritual arc, I guess. But because I'd grown up Catholic, it was so easy for me to reconnect with all the stuff that I already kind of like knew from the past. Like, oh shit, like this is a really easy transition, and it's like super applicable to my current like political challenges. Yeah.
And to be fair, you're not becoming religious. You're just using religion's tools to
No, it would take a radical reshaping of my mind to ever become religious again. But I can see the value in it, of course. So, yeah.
Okay, now I heard you also mention possibly doing something like a news organization or a collective or something. How bored or how quick do you think you'll get bored with it all? Like, I just feel like you're gonna get bored. Is that just me?
No, I don't think so. I think there's a lot of challenges and there's a lot of like dynamic stuff involved in like running big stuff.
But is it running the business or your legacy that's cool and important, or is it actually like the work you're doing?
I think the work part. I think that I think there are unique things that I should explore, and I think that I should explore those.
People getting hit. Multiple people getting hit by the fucking heal reduction. It's like, actually, I don't have master spell for this.
Yes. Yeah, that.
So we're moving away from the hedonism, and we're on it. So are you like hyper aware that like you're in a moment and your life is shifting, and you're like, oh my god, I'm making a transition?
Yeah, it happened a little bit ago, but yeah.
How does it feel to be in a transition?
Good. I always like transitions. I've always said that I'd be like really scared if I've like aged 5 years and I look back, and I'm like, oh fuck, I'm the exact same as I was 5 years ago. Did something break, or am I like done growing, or am I stuck in a, I'll say bubble, not in the way that you mean it, but like in some like reinforcing bubble where we all have the same thoughts and opinions, and I've lost the ability to grow.
Not a bubble. That's exactly what I mean by bubble. Like, it's just a place where everyone kind of.
That would be that would be really scary to me, especially because I'm an online streamer and it's easy for us to fall into that because you have audience capture, they can reinforce their opinions, blah blah blah. Can I say something real quick? I'm sorry. Miss Elisa is asking what I mean when I'm saying autistic. Sorry. So like, I'm like a very much like, if you were to tell me like, is this food like good or bad for you? Like, it feels like some people would ask like friends or family, and I'd be like, oh, well, let's go and look up the studies and blah 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 blah, and like this like very like keen desire to kind of like pick apart like little facts and studies and data and kind of like assess things like that's typically how I think about the world. When I say autistic, I'm meaning it kind of half. It's not. I don't know. I shouldn't say autistic, but versus like the more kind of like human, story-driven narrative stuff. That's what I'm using that juxtaposed to that. I don't mean actually super autistic. Sorry, just clearing that up. Okay.
I like that you're reading the chat because I did not see that coming, and like she's one of my favorite commenters. Is she on your chat or my chat right now?
Oh,
You're
she's
reading
in
my chat or
yours.
yours?
I always have
Oh,
everything.
okay, you're
All 5 chats
okay,
are
look at
open,
you.
all of the same.
I don't think I could. I just would get distracted, but I appreciate you answering her question. She's great. It's interesting to see this happening, but also very exciting. Of course, in my brain, I'm like, oh, what's he doing with it? Like, what are you going to do with it? But you said something in I think your conversation with Devin that made me go, oh. So there's a pattern I see in a lot of men that I always think is interesting. You said something about like legacy or basically like helping the world, like doing something that's bigger than you, but it feels very like reputation.
Barely ramps up on his skills.
Am I projecting or like am I hearing it wrong? It sounds like
Yeah, fuck that. I don't. That shit is cringe. I don't care about that. Yeah.
Okay, good. So what do you care about then?
So this is how I'm viewing it now. Okay. There was an analogy that I picked up from the Mere Christianity book that I'd also heard a lot as a kid. But basically, it's this idea that there's actually a lot of analogies picked up. When you engage with the world, when everybody engages with the world, I think some people have certain talents or gifts that they have through whatever, either natural, they were born a certain way, or they picked up things as they were growing up, or whatever. But by the time you hit certain like point in your life, you're capable of doing things that are exceptional compared to other people. And I think before I would kind of say that like you should just pursue what makes you happy and do that, and I still think that's important. But there's like a separate category now that I didn't recognize or I didn't have language to describe before, separate from happiness, which is this concept of like fulfillment, basically. And I think that this idea of like fulfillment comes more from like pursuing to the most, like kind of some of these like natural talents that you have that you can do better than other people in society. And I think you kind of owe it to society to pursue those. You owe it to society and owe it to yourself to like pursue those things to their fullest, because I think you can contribute like really unique things to the world that otherwise just won't exist. So for instance, if you take somebody like, wait, why do those contributions?
Yeah, like also, is my audio shit today?
Nope, you're fine.
Weird, everyone's telling me it's shit today and I don't know why. Okay, you shouldn't be. Okay, why? But why? Like why?
Because it makes the world is like a richer, better, more human place. Like if you look at somebody like Einstein and you think that like that's a guy that could have played League of Legends all day, but instead he pursued physics. Or if you look at like Michelangelo, like great artists or whatever, like these are all people that they have like this world that they fit in. I'll say this circular, transparent thing that they could fit in theoretically, but they have ways of like poking at the edges or pushing boundaries that other humans can't do. And I think that when you do that, you're like expanding the whole of like what it even means to be human or what encompasses all of humanity. You're making these unique contributions to human history that like makes the world like better in measurable and immeasurable ways for everybody.
Yeah. Why do you want to do that?
At some point, it's just going to be some deeply innate human drive to like have a better world, I guess. Like I don't know how much deeper it can go then.
You can do anything. You're in this like position in your life where like you've got money, a reputation, you're handsome, all these things, and this is what you've decided to do.
I feel like the deeper, so in a ways it's all reductively hedonistic, I guess. But there's a deeper sense of fulfillment, or there's a different kind of happiness that you get from doing fulfilling things versus things that just make you happy. The thing that I'll always compare it to is, you've read before, right? You ever read?
Thousands.
Yeah, okay. There's like a feeling that you get when you turn the final page in a book that you can never get from browsing 100 of the funniest memes on Reddit, right? It's almost like a melancholic feeling of like leaving that, like, and that only comes because of all the friction and all of the work it took to get to that point. There's a huge time investment. There's a special, like, you have to set aside moments of your life to pursue something, to read. It's an active engagement of your mind. There's a whole lot of work that goes. And once you've hit that point, once you've overcome the friction of finishing that adventure, we'll say in a book, there's like a special sense of fulfillment that you get that's a lot different than just pushing the next button on your phone on like 9gag or Reddit or anything.
Totally. Like I'm literally, even, and when I think about moving, I'm like, even if I moved overseas, how many books could I take with me? I just want to like, there's nothing more satisfying, right? Like I've been waking up that's why I told you I've been waking up at 6 a.m. so I could read for 45 minutes, so I could actually get back into reading a book a week. Because I was like, I could do a book a day in the past, and now I'm like, I don't know why I can't quite do it. But okay, wait, this is great. I know you're trying to like not exactly use my framework, which is fine. Someone said that in the comments.
The only reason I saw that. The only reason I'm trying to see bubbles, I know that you have like other definitions, and I don't want to like stumble into saying.
They don't. No. The definition is just like this. We all live in cultural bubbles, like say it that way, or like we all live in spaces where we think this, like Ethan lives in his own world. We all live in our different worlds. We all live in different worlds, right? So when we observe people, we can see where they're coming from and why they chose what they chose, because people aren't that much of a mystery. With you, I think because you're so open, it's cool to ask you like why you've decided to do certain things. It feels a little bit though, a little bit. I could be wrong. How does it feel like? Okay, you know how Sneeko has had this like I love just my son. He's just but he's going through this great journey, and he's really like owning the particular bubble he's in. He's really excelling fast. Like he's done everything according to the algorithm. He's really finding success. I can see why he did that. He's literally saying it. He's looking for something. He's gonna go find it. But with you, you're saying I'm going to.
Okay, never mind. We'll talk about it later, okay?
Me?
This particular thing.
Sure.
It's a. I understand what you're saying. It's a more complicated conversation. But I understand what you're saying. But yeah, but I just can't talk about it on stream. But I understand what you're saying. You're right though. Okay, yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, well, shoot. What I wanted to talk to you about a little bit. Have you been otherwise? Good?
Yeah, lots of crazy stuff, lots of funny memes, lots of, just wild stuff. How's life been going for you? I'm proud of you. You've overcome a lot in that you're on a healthy sleep schedule. Good job.
Oh, I was like, what are you talking about?
A lot of people aren't able to do that. A lot of people aren't able to get off the ultra toxic sleep shit into like a normal sleep schedule. I notice now if I message you at 11 o'clock, you're like, sorry, I was already sleeping. Good job. Good for you. I'm proud of you.
Literally, I'm so proud because all you night owls, everyone hits me up past 10, and I'm like, I love that. First of all, it makes me feel loved waking up to so many nice messages, but I cannot. If I'm gonna wake up at 6, I can't. Like, I need to be in bed at least 9 hours. Just because I don't sleep good at all anyways. How have you been sleeping?
Okay. My sleep's always like, okay. Not the greatest, not the worst.
Okay.
Do,
Special coming.
Oh. I don't know if you talk about this publicly. Do you still smoke at all, or?
Girl, no, I stopped smoking because of my lupus, but I do my edibles all the time. So May was my last hit. But yeah, I gotta be high unless I'm having babies, which right now is 36. No.
Special coming.
Brittany, that's the next one. Once you break the weed thing, oh my god, you're gonna unlock your mind. That's what you need to get from level 4 to 5, Brittany. You're trapped at level 4. It's the weed level.
Why are you trying to take my drugs away from me? I was curious about that. I guess you don't do drugs. Like, you're never high on stream or drunk on stream. You're sober. How do you just like not like it?
Watch way.
I love drugs. Drugs are fucking awesome. Everybody should explore drugs. I think drugs are a very good vacation. Super fun to get a change in perspective, to explore yourself or other people in ways you haven't before, and in ways you can't. Love mushrooms, MDMA, LSD, meth one time on accident. It was still a really fun time. But these are really, really, really fun drugs. But when they become part of your regular routine, I think that's really scary to me. So like smoking every day, doing edibles every day, I think is a bad habit. So I think that's so yeah. So I love drugs, super love doing it with people. Really fun way to get to know people, explore yourself. But I try not to make it any part of like my regular day because I'd be worried about that being a necessity for me to function.
Totally. Well, I mean, obviously, I take break. I believe in like breaks. Like take a break. It's so much better when you come back. I will say I am less productive, obviously, if I'm high during
what
the
the
day,
fuck?
So I try to stay high after a certain
Special
time,
coming.
or if it's a high stream, then we just celebrate together. But you're right that like you shouldn't. Hopefully, you wouldn't have anything that would hold you back. But recently, someone told me that I should face some of my issues, but some of them are just like I'm really sensitive about gags. Like when people gag, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna join them in that. Don't
Wait,
do that
have you
in
seen
What?
the video?
I probably can't watch it. I probably can't watch it.
Oh shit! There's a girl that has that problem. There's a bunch of guys around her. He's like, "Hey, how you feeling?" And then she's like, and then she starts doing it. Yeah, okay. But no, then they just do that to her all day. Okay.
So my brother, that's what all day my brothers just do it, and they stand outside my door, and they think it's so funny. But I really have puked from it. So someone recently told me that I should challenge myself and get over that. What do you think about that? Should we get rid of all of our weaknesses?
I mean, probably not all of it. Depends on how. I don't know where that weakness comes from. Is that something you can get over, or?
I think it's just an association, maybe. Like, you know, you see, I can't. Even there's like a scene in Disney's Mulan where she tries to spit and she can't like complete it, and I'm like, that scene makes me want to every time. Like I'm like, oh, so like I'm very like sensitive, but I don't know if that would change my life for the better. Getting rid of that. I don't know if getting rid of weed would really change my life for the better if you're disciplined with its use.
Well, but you do it every single day, so how disciplined are you? I don't think discipline means like I do it at the same time every single day. That's not what discipline means.
Whoa, sir. I can go off it anytime though, bitch. Like I just went a week off of it. I was at my mom's house. I didn't, I try not to do drugs in her house. It's like, it is just what it is. Like, but you should utilize everything for your own benefit, and I think weed benefits. Plus my nutritionist and my doctor want me on weed. So what are you gonna do now? What are you gonna do now? Exactly.
There's no way that, first of all, I don't even know if nutrition is a real thing. I'm guessing the doctor probably said that if you have pain or nausea related to anything, that you should probably like do some sort of CBD stuff in that time. I don't know if you need THC. I don't know.
It's THC, baby. It's THC.
Is THC the thing that alleviates the nausea and everything, or is it the CBD?
It's the pain. It's lupus, like autoimmune disorders have a lot of like physical chronic pain. But also, I told them I was already doing THC. I was like, I take THC all the time. They're like, great, stay on it for your sleep. It's really helpful. For my sleep, it's very helpful. Otherwise, I'm just up all night thinking about like all the ways I can make a video tomorrow, or like all the things I could do. And then I'll be up talking to you at 11 when I shouldn't be. I should be in bed.
Okay, well.
So I will say, I'm just saying.
That's good. You found an actual cope for your drug obsession. I'm proud of you. Not everybody can do that. Good job.
You want this like Andrew Tate journey where he's like, no drugs?
No, I think people should do what they want. I know a lot of people who smoke every day. I just don't know how I feel about it. No, I do know how I feel about it. It's not good. I don't think you should do it every day. But hey, listen, it's your life. You do you, babe.
God.
You do you, Habibi.
Oh my God. Oh, Habibi. Okay. Well, damn. Okay. Everything I want to talk to you about sounds a little too much. Lav had to cancel on me last minute, so.
What a bitch. Why'd she cancel?
I'm not gonna tell you. She's for her own reasons. She has her reasons. They all do. They always have their reasons.
So now you're telling me it was like a reason, like something worth like actually not like a random like, oh, she was busy, but there was some shit going on.
No, very boring. Very boring. You know, we'll try again on Friday.
Oh, she just told me why. She said she overslept because she was smoking weed because she's addicted to drugs too. She said you need to stop immediately. Oh no.
Oh my God. You know what? You're starting to sound like my conservative parents. I'm gonna get triggered.
Oh, okay, good. I'm glad.
Actually, I think my dad would be more libertarian at this point, where he'd say, it's just a plant. Let her smoke it. Leave my daughter alone.
Well.
That's all I really want to talk to you about. I'm afraid otherwise I'm just kind of.
Okay. What have you been up to?
In general, being a girl and being pretty happy. And then I'm also in hustle mode right now. So I'm trying to like really bunker down and focus, especially since I had to take a week off a couple weeks ago, and now I'm back on it, which is good. I might move, definitely not to Florida.
Ooh. Oh.
Everyone keeps telling me to move to Florida, but I even with the lupus now that I'm like allergic to the sun, basically, I really shouldn't be in Florida. I don't think that's reasonable. But just getting ready for the new year, you know.
Okay. Are you like big holiday people?
Just Christmas, really, because, you know, we all get together and all the 10 kids come together and we all have a huge celebration.
Do you have like a great grandma or anything?
Everyone's dead now.
Oh, fuck.
Which is
I always
sad.
thought it was.
We all just, you know.
I was gonna say it was always really interesting. My kid's mom, they would have like family reunions, and I think I want to say it was her great grandma was alive, and it's always interesting being near a person and like you're around them, and there's like 100 people that kind of all came from that one person in a way.
Yeah. Wait.
Yeah, it's like a weird.
Did someone just say this?
Well.
Wait.
Was it one of mine?
Andrew Tate, I think.
If
or
it's
somebody
not,
just said
it
this,
was
like,
an Andrew Tate thing actually. Yeah.
If
that's
it's
true.
not
Yeah.
fucking
because he was saying that like,
Lily.
oh yeah, it's beautiful.
On her
do the
breeze,
blah, blah,
doing
blah,
a
and, like,
22
all these
lower
people
car.
could- Yeah, he did. He reminded me of that. Yeah.
So actually, this might be quite controversial.
I haven't played my
background,
Prius. I haven't done
and
anything on my
grandparents
Prius.
have all
I don't
just
like my
passed. Like, I just
Prius.
lost
I
my last two
retired my
grandfathers,
Prius.
and one was over 103, and the other one was in his 80s. But like my mother's family, very unorthodox. Like my grandma was married at 12 to like my grandpa, who was like 18. Neither of them wanted to get married. Like neither of them wanted to do that. He wanted to be a priest, and he said no, because he was the only boy at the time. And then my grandma, it was just how things go. You get your period, you get married. You know, T-Rock. What are you gonna do? So from them alone, and they stayed married till they both died. She of Alzheimer's and pneumonia, and him of old age and COVID.
Okay.
But they had 17 kids.
Jesus
26
fuck.
if you count the miscarriages. My mom, I think, is number 14 maybe. My mom had 10 kids. Her sister had 10 kids. my, everyone ever. So when we all get together, I think I have like 80 first cousins, and then all of them have cousins, and then all of them, not cousins, all of them have kids and kids and kids. So our family is rather huge. Actually, I always say if you marry into my family, you don't just get me, you get like hundreds of people around the world. You get family in Iraq who will bring you in even if they've never met you. You'll have people in New Zealand and all the other places my families have immigrated to. And so I think there's something really beautiful, but it's so unsettling to have these conversations. I actually said I'd rather talk to like Abba and Preach and Andrew Tate and all these people about my upbringing, because they're going to understand it way better than some like white liberal who grew up in a world where like, Brittany, that's never okay. It's like, yeah, I understand what you're all saying, but it is what happens. But there is something really amazing when the matriarchs come home and you look at your grandma and you realize, wow, from you, all of us have happened.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I mean, that's content.
In Middle Eastern culture especially,
she can get feisty, but I also think she shuts down.
Because they did all of this for us. Even if they're short-sighted and a little bit too conservative,
she'll like shut down.
They did do
I'm done.
so
We're
much
done
for
here.
us.
We're not. I'm not talking.
It really
like,
bothers
okay,
me how much people don't understand that.
Kind of weird.
And like, I'm a very
I get
modern,
it. It's
white
healthy
woman.
and
so I believe that we should have like
boundaries by it, but it's weird and
it's very fucking
like,
annoying when liberals are
turn
like,
the camera
oh, yeah,
off.
like the hijab. Muslims only make women wear that because they fucking hate women.
I think she's gonna go for fucking blood. I think she's gonna go for blood. She's gonna be like, you fucking dumb fucks.
View of how things work. It's so funny when Christians will look at like Muslims and they'll be like, you wear the hijab, like how fucking oppressive. And then they'll turn around to like a woman in a like mini skirt, be like, what a slut, what a disgusting fucking whore. I hope she gets a rape. I was like, bro, are you fucking serious right now? Like, yeah, I don't know.
I'm
it's
doing
really,
so good.
It's so funny
the other
that, like,
priest that is
like,
good
something that would be really
saw
funny
me
is to take,
doing
like,
good,
Sharia
and
law
she's
and,
like,
change,
you're
like,
gonna
6
pass me
words and
soon.
present
So
it to a
now
Christian,
she's
like, how do you
pushing
think this is?
keys
Like,
because
this is
she's
the greatest thing
worried.
ever. It's like, okay, bro, you're basically like a fucking fundy.
No, that's not a
jihadist sometimes.
priest.
Like, chill.
That's
Jesus, you
Gluey.
guys are insane,
She's the one who
man. I don't
loots
like how
everything,
little
and
people
then
don't
I pay
understand.
her
Or people are
because
so quick to
apparently her loot
ascribe to
table is better
hatred or
than mine.
malice, other viewpoints that they don't understand, rather than saying like, even people that think that men are above women in the household and all that shit, they don't hate women. It's just they have a really different way of organizing and viewing the world.
Well, I think the stereotype of like the man-hating misogynist really just gets filtered through Hollywood, and Hollywood isn't telling my story. Like, they're not telling Middle Eastern stories, right? Like, and even if they did, they'd get it fucking wrong because they choose they would choose Muslims first of all, and I'm not even Muslim, so like they wouldn't even choose. But I think like growing up, it was really weird because my dad would say things like, Betsy, you're amazing, you're gonna do great things, you're gonna run this business, you're gonna get married and have kids. And then as I got older and I came out as queer, my dad was like, is this because I raised you as a boy? And I was like, you raised me as a boy? I thought you were raising me as an equal. And he's like, what? I was raising you as a boy. But then in hindsight, even now, my dad would say like, he's really proud of the money I'm making now. He's proud of not my work because it's not very Christ-like.
Sure.
But he's really proud that I'm hustling and that I'm gonna buy a house and then I'm gonna like do all these things. And it's really hard for him to even face his narrative of like, the man is the breadwinner and that, because my mom works with him now and they run this business together and they're like doing great. And so like, I think there's like confusion about how these conversations are happening. My youngest brother loves Andrew Tate and he's like, he wants me to love Andrew Tate too. I actually like Tristan a little bit better, but I told him, I was like, the way you talk about women, I understand what you're saying, but it doesn't sound the way you think it sounds.
Yeah.
I don't hear, I'm a man who's going to protect my woman. I hear, because you're a dumb fucking cunt, I need to protect you.
Yeah, and this is one of the things that drives me so fucking crazy about all these fucking, like, these, like, Christian tenders, like, they're the new, like, oh my God, like, I'm flirting with spirituality and blah, 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 blah. When people talk from a Christian's perspective of, like, the man being above the woman, there is a huge amount of respect and partnership that's conferred there. It doesn't mean that you throw a bitch in a kitchen and tell her to cook and make children all day. There's like a delegated shared responsibility of the household. There's always conversation between, like, the man doesn't just go out and buy shit and like, oh, you're the woman, you're subservient to me. No, there are always conversations there. Like, the woman is in charge of some of the most important aspects of the man's life, keeping the household in order, raising the children, making sure they're being respectful, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like, and all of these things are massively respectful institutions. But when the whole like Christian is like a trendy thing comes out, people are just like, oh, like, men are better than women and women have to shut the fuck up, and like I could have 10 women at once if I'm really rich as a man. I was like, bro, you are bastardizing how these traditional arrangements work so much, and you're unironically, like, it is the toxic masculinity or toxic Christianity. You're picking the worst fucking parts from these types of traditional relationships and then pretending that you're a trad Christian or a trad con person when you're not at all. Like, none of these relationships work if there's not like a lot of respect for it. to be clear, I don't even support. I don't even like those traditional relationships. But like, if you are gonna do it, at least explore all the different facets of it, not just picking and choosing the ones that happen to like make you feel like you get the biggest dick or whatever, you know.
I think that's the problem. Like, my little brother, I'll tell him, I was like, look at the way you love mom. Look at the way dad loves mom. Dad is very considerate. But then, here, Steven, I went home. I told my parents, I'm really happy. I'm seeing a very considerate person. I'm really enamored. You know, I'm really in love, blah, blah. My mom goes, a considerate person? Oh, so he's like a girly boy. And I'm like, what? No, I said he was considerate, like, of my feelings. She goes, how is he gonna protect you? And I was like, by being considerate of my feelings. Like, what? But they don't really believe, like, I have borderline, or they don't really believe, like, in my PTSD, or they don't really believe in my diagnoses, or even my lupus. My dad's like, they're probably wrong. I was like, you know what? I hope they are.
Sure.
But it looks pretty fucking good right now. And so when I think about that bubble, I always, like, going home reminds me about, like, oh, I forgot. I grew up so conservative.
Yeah.
Okay, I forgot. And then I go home, because, like, they want things. They're like, well, you know, you need a man who can, like, build a house. So I was like, okay, half my brothers can't build a house, so I don't really think that's a requirement. And they're like, you need a man who's gonna, like, make money. I was like, I make money. Keep going. And they're like, you need a man who, and I'm like, I don't really, though. I thought I did. I thought I needed this, like, ultra masculine man, blah, blah, blah. But no, I needed someone who was solid, consistent, loyal, and honest, and considerate. Like, number one, considerate.
Yeah, I don't know. Or go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you look like you're gonna say something.
Just so on that note, I don't know if this is your experience, but I'm so curious. I have met so many conservative women, and I've got conservative women in my own family who are very much on this, like, the man needs to take care of the woman and provide and blah, 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 blah. But then if you get to know these people more, the women end up being so much more capable than the men in almost every regard. And it almost feels like, bro, why the fuck aren't you just running the household? Like, it seems like you've got a better hold on, like, the finance, you work more, like, that's like a thing that I run into time and time again. I love both my parents. I love my dad and my mom. I love them both so much. But, like, I see that happening sometimes, where, like, my dad will make very questionable financial decisions, but my mom won't say anything because she doesn't think it's her place to say anything. I was like, Mom, why the fuck won't you say anything here? She's like, Mom, he's
See,
the father.
that's so
It's like,
interesting.
do you have that feeling or not at all, or what?
No, well, okay, you know, I'll tell you this. My parents always tell me, like, look, Betsy, your dad runs the household. Mom, you do all the finances, you do all the shopping, you organize all the kids, you homeschooled all of us. Dad goes to work and makes money and comes home.
Sure.
He does amazing things around the house, but even the way that your dynamic works, my dad is like this, like, wolf of a man who, like, caters to my mom and, like helps and protects and does all these things. But I feel like my mom is technically, well, she breeds like a motherfucker, like, a lot. My dad's like a genius in his field, but my mom is more like conscientious, if that makes sense. Like, she's more just like in it, but my mom and dad are very transparent people. So the only reason, Steven, I have the arrogance to want someone I can share my whole self with and I can know everything about them is because I see that in my parents.
Sure.
My parents are really communicative people, but they're also extremely aggressive. And the Middle Eastern women in my family, their opinions get heard. Like, the men, there might be a patriarchy, like, there might be, like, my grandfather or, like, my father, like, a hierarchy, but, like, the women, they are respected. So I don't know. My bubble was really strange, where, again, mixed messages. Be a stay-at-home mom, also make money. I'm like, okay, ma'am, what am I doing here? But I do see your situation a lot. Like, I know a lot of Christian white couples, and they're very confusing to me. Because your mom's Cuban, right? So, like, she should not be on that wavelength. But maybe where they feel
people,
like,
some Hispanic people or Cuban people or whoever that immigrate to the United States end up being like the most American people, like the most American people. And Cubans definitely fell into that. They're like the most conservative group in the United States, but yeah.
But yeah, they're like uncomfortable talking to their partners or saying things to them. But why wouldn't they be when people are out here saying they're not going to be open, right? I don't want to hear it. I want this version this way. And I'm like, I get it, right? But, like, who are you supposed to tell everything to if not your partner, right?
Sure.
But that's just how I fuck with it, though. I don't know if you actually like that, like, complete transparency. But if I don't feel safe enough to talk to my partner, not because my partner has created that environment alone, because I'm consenting to it, I feel responsible for now creating a situation where I can't speak my mind.
Sure.
Which is why I don't allow it to occur.
Yeah, that's right.
But I do see it really often in a lot of couples because they're afraid. Like, even in my own my own work. Like I've asked people like, oh, what does your partner believe? And they're like, I don't know. And I was like, but you've been with them for 8, 10, 20 years. How do you not know what your partner thinks about religion? That's so, isn't that a first date question?
Yeah.
But then I realized that that's just my background. Is that what you mean? Is that what you're talking about?
Just the idea that there are like there are a lot of very capable women that end up taking backseat sometimes to the men in their lives because they feel like that's how it's supposed to go. But like,
yeah,
I feel like there's a shortage of.
Their bubble.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah,
Oh my God.
It's weird because sometimes I feel like people are calling for like there are no more conservative women, but then when I go into like the conservative worlds and I look at the conservative men, I'm like, you guys suck. Like, why the fuck would anybody want to be in relationships with you? Like,
What bubble do you belong to? If like someone's dating you, what bubble are they dating?
I have no idea. I've dated all sorts of people. The thing that I look for the
they
most.
Were dating you.
Yeah, the thing that I look for the most in a person is usually you have to be very, very independent.
We didn't get
That's like really important. Like you have to have your own life. You have to have your own thoughts. And
Your own husband, your own kid.
Not necessarily. No.
Not that independent. Okay.
Well, that would be not independent. That would be dependent on somebody else. But it's basically just like I'm a very aggressive person, and I don't like when people like roll over for me in life. It's not fun. So like in almost one consistent theme in all of my relationships is the people that I date usually have like very aggressive personalities. So like we can fight with each other, argue with each other, like disagree with each other. Like, that's a really, really, really important thing. And I think even with like the people I bring on stream, even for like friends, like I think that's true. Like you argue with me about things, Mr. Girl obviously argues with me. Like that's typically true. Those are the people that'll stick around the longest. Are people that I can have arguments with. Like that's fun and exciting for me. I enjoy that. Yeah, that's probably like the most important qualifier, and then there'll be other things like downstream.
Empower.
I have a prediction about your life, but I don't know if I can say it out loud.
Go ahead, do it. Why not? Now that you said that much, you kind of have to. Now you're committed.
Oh my God, bro! What the?
I know. I was really gonna say it anyways.
Yeah, that's good.
I just want to pretend like it's not good. I'm getting a vibe from you that is so interesting. Like you're obviously in a transition, and I'm curious on where you'll land. I predict you're going to be really bored with some of the choices you're going to make for the next 6 months, and then you're going to make a different choice. And the choice will be much more interesting than what you're making in your head right now.
True. I'll try the media
And
company, get bored, I'm going to become a fucking priest. That's the real dream.
I don't know, but you actually, that'd be kind of hot, like you in the robe.
Yeah, my little Jesuit white collar. Yeah, my little
That'd be a great like scene. Yeah. I just think there's something
Grimcar
in
Chain Master.
your energy right now, which is so different than normal. But obviously, like you said, you're in transition, so that's fine.
Gotcha.
But it feels like you did this. It feels like you were like this. You're like debate, bro. Oh, switch from Twitch to YouTube, and then it feels like now you went to like Fresh and Fit. You had those conversations, and now you're gonna go to a different place to see if you fit there. Are you looking for you fit? Destiny?
I've been transitioning for like a year now. It's been something that I've been like actively seeing. It might not have been, there have been some things that have kind of like moved it along a little bit quicker, but I've been trying to figure out constantly how to be like a more effective political communicator. And to do that is like that's like a thing here that involves a lot of changes up here in order to bring that in line. So like being able
here
to
in your consciousness or up here in
like being an effective political communicator is downstream from a whole bunch of more fundamental things. Because like fundamentally, what does it mean to be a political communicator? It means I need to be able to converse with and convince people that believe totally different things that I believe, or totally different thought processes. So there's a demand on a person like that to either have the prerequisite experiences or the tools to gather information from people that believe like totally different things, and then to be able to speak to them in ways that they can understand you. And I think there's a lot of skill sets there to work on, and it might require like a fundamental reworking of how you view the world. So like one example of
doing that though since
What?
day one, like haven't you done that like throughout your whole career, like changed and updated, and you've been so many different Stevens. So how is this change any different than your other changes?
I mean, it's all part of the same journey path, like, maybe. Like I don't know if it's fundamentally like a massively different thing, but like in the beginning of my first like 2 to 3 years of politics, I was basically like I was like the huge like bully. Like if we're gonna have a debate, I'm gonna destroy you and make you feel stupid, and that's how I'm gonna like convince your fans to follow me instead or whatever. Like that was kind of the path. And then I've tried to be more like compassionate or empathetic over the past like 1 or 2 years. I think especially I've tried that a lot. And then over the past year, especially I've focused on honing in like my understanding or my empathy for other types of people too. So it's all been kind of like that process. But just like growing in the real world, growth is never like this. It's always like this. Like you stagnate for a bit, you have a bump in growth. You stagnate for a bit, you have a bump in growth, right? Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Do you think that every time you hit this moment, you look back on your life and you don't want to repeat and stay stagnant, you know, that idea of looking back for 5 years, blah, blah, blah. Do you think that it's going to look different every time? Like, is it always going to have to do something with work? Or is it going to have to do something with, like, you or your relationships or the way you see the world? Or do you think it's always going to be related to your job?
I grow, it's very rare. Do I grow sometimes? I grow best when there's conflict or challenges. Like, that's usually what I grow out of. So I'll say recently, without getting details, I had a lot of growth, or I had a lot of conflict with a particular person and scenario involving this person, and it was out of that conflict that I had to reorganize or reanalyze or rethink of a lot of different things in order to kind of like make sense of things that had happened and to like move on from that event. And it'll usually be through big moments of conflict in my life that I'm forced to kind of like reevaluate or change things, basically. I think those are what I grow best from. There was a game that I used to play called StarCraft. You ever played before?
No, but you remember I dated a guy who liked playing it, so that's what I know it is.
There's an interesting concept where when you play a game, if you play a game and you win the game, you're not really getting much better at it because you did everything right and you're good. But if you play and you start losing towards something, well, now that you've lost, now there's something to improve, right? There's either a different, I won't get into details, but like, yeah, you have to improve something. So I find that in life, as long as you're doing really well and you're not presented with much adversity and everything's going good, it's pretty hard to find big instigators to change, because why would you change up a lot of the formula seems to be working well? So normally there has to be some instigator that comes along where it's like, hey, here's something that you could do, here's something you could have, or here's a challenge that you can't meet and you're not able to do that now. So do you avoid that and kind of like carry on the other path and keep doing what you're doing, or do you reconfigure or change some of your fundamental beliefs or views of the world in order to overcome that challenge? And ideally, I'm hoping that I'm always going to be the person that wants to rise and meet or exceed the threshold to be whatever that challenge is. And that's kind of what's happened over the past like couple months, I guess.
Empower.
Love it. Here's the question. When you're making this change,
Shockwave.
obviously I okay, 100% agree, right? This happens in layers of life. So right now, I think it could happen in your job, happen in your personal life, happen in your own, like, right now, would you say it's happening in your business life? Because that's what you're changing from the outside. That's what I'm observing.
Kind of. So for business life, this is what I mean when I say that like everything is like abstracted from other things.
Shockwave.
For business life, the change is that like I want to do something a little bit more than just streaming. I think I can do more. But that comes from a fundamental re-understanding of, like, I think a person's obligation to the world and obligation to themselves. So prior to this, I would say that, like, your obligations are obviously contractual ones. Like, if you've made a contract or agreement with somebody, if you have a child, if you've got a wife or whatever, like, these are things you should obviously. And then, like, you should try to make yourself as happy as possible. That's, like, an obvious thing. Like, these are the two, I would have said that those are the two obligations you have in life. But now that I've kind of, like, thought about that, I'm like, well, hold on. I think that there is a third obligation we can speak of. I think that every person has, like, sets of talents or things that they can do exceedingly well. And I think that the world is actually, like, a fundamentally worse place if people don't explore those virtues or those talents or those gifts that they have. I think everybody kind of owes it. I think it's like morally, you have an imperative to explore those special gifts you have in the biggest way possible. So because I've kind of like changed my view on that, well, now I go downstream or upstream, or downstream, I guess. Yeah, now I apply that to my working life. It's like, okay, well, I can be a video game streamer for my whole life, and that's fine. I can do that. I make a ton of money. I have a lot of fun. It's cool. But there's probably other stuff that I can do even greater that maybe not everybody else can do, and I can like engage with it in a unique or exceptional manner. And why would I not? It seems like I'm like worsening the world and myself to not have that engagement with the world I live in. Does that make sense?
Totally, 100% makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, I think my journey it went into the world, but then it went outside of the world. And earlier, I think it was still that Devin guy, because I listened to a few videos today, so I can't remember. And he said something like, oh shoot, wait, I just lost it.
Oh no.
He said introspection is sort of selfish because you have to be alone to introspect, right? And I think it's interesting when I watch people be introspective or extrospective, but then they end up putting their energy into the world as an abstract concept, because that seems really inefficient to me. So I guess I'm asking you these questions because I'm trying to figure out, like, why would you make this decision? But then it would make sense if it fulfilled some sort of like egocentric focus, or like some legacy you're doing, or some sort of like, this is what I think is just correct morally. You know, why wouldn't you go into yourself? Like, why would you give more of yourself to the world when the world is just like not appreciated it as much as they could have.
Because I think that is like the best version of yourself. Like the best version of Einstein was the guy that contributed everything he did to the world. The best version of Hitler or Oppenheimer or any like fantastic figure, Alexander the Great, like the best versions of themselves can't be divorced from the engagement that they had with the world, right?
Only if the world is the one judging. But if you're judging your own life, does it matter? Like for some people, like they would rather just like have children and have like grandchildren. Right? Talk about legacy. Like having all those babies is quite a legacy. But you're saying you, Steven, won't be fulfilled by just being a normal person. So you're looking for something extraordinary to do, right?
Sure, but I think that when we engage with the world, humans don't exist in a vacuum, right? Like everything we do is going to affect other people to some extent. So if you're engaging in an exceptional or great with
There's
the
a
world,
cannon barrage
then
hitting me
other
right
people
there.
are probably going to be impacted by that, right? By like exceptional people or great people. So if you have the ability to pursue something in an exceptional or great manner, it's going to be stuff that is going to impact other people.
Well, Thundering Stomp
Yeah,
51K.
I think for me, I just think about my direct, like 6 feet radius, and then I go, yeah, but I'm not shitting on yours like that's the wrong choice. I guess it's the same reason why I got confused
I don't
when
understand.
the people.
I don't understand,
why
like,
Mr. Girl takes me so seriously.
people like
or
that,
whatever,
bro.
Anybody, because I'm just like, why? And then it's like maybe it's this because I don't have this. Whatever you're saying right now, I'm like,
Maybe he was buttered and PIM or something.
Like, I know
Sure,
what
I
it
think
is
they
as
see
a
themselves as
two, I
like
know what it is
everybody.
my past self, but I don't get it now.
I guess like the difference is that like maybe you see everybody as like individual little like puddles, and you kind of exist in your
Feedback.